Before we get started this evening, I'd like to ask everyone to please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Yep, that's it. Mike? Okay, and then we'll just go. Okay, that's fine.
Good evening. The April 7th, 2018 agenda meeting of the Milltown Borough Council will now come to order. Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Present.
Councilman Farkas?
Here.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Present.
Councilman Ligotti?
Here.
Councilwoman Mayer? Here. Councilman Revelinsky?
There.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 present.
Okay. Will the clerk please read the meeting statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular business meeting of the Borough Council was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posting, filing, and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official Borough newspapers, Home News Tribune, and Star Ledger Publishing Companies on February 20th, 2018. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after this agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by a salute to our nation's flag. Pledge allegiance to
the flag.
One nation, under God,
indivisible, with justice for all.
Okay, we will open items for discussion. Miscellaneous engineering items. Mr. McClellan, CME.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just 2 quick items tonight. The first is to advise, as we discussed at your last council meeting, with regard to the work on Wilson Avenue, we have contacted the Department of Transportation to indicate that the borough requires another 6-month extension on the project in order to obtain the necessary clearance for right-of-way, whether it be easements or acquisition for the pipe to travel down through that wooded property. And they have agreed. They've asked us to process the necessary resolution at your next council meeting, which will provide and inform to your borough clerk and your borough attorney beforehand.
Thank you.
Second is with regard to the Public Works building, is a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. in the Borough Council building. The contractor will be there, Borough utility staff and Public Works and other borough officials.
Great.
That's all we have tonight.
Any questions for the engineer? Okay, seeing none, I will close items for discussion and open audience comments. Just as a reminder, these are comments in regard to what was discussed at the agenda meeting here this evening. With that, I will open up audience comments. Seeing none, I will close audience comments and I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Mayer, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber for adjournment. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Ligotti?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, that's 6 ayes.
So moved. We are adjourned. We're going to take about a 5-minute recess, and then we'll start the next meeting.
9. I said 11:30. What? I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Yeah, I hope so.
Good evening. The April 9th, 2018 meeting of the Milltown Borough Council will now come to order. Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Present.
Councilman Farkas?
Here.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Present.
Councilman Ligotti?
Here.
Councilwoman Mayer? Here. Councilman Revelinsky?
Rich.
Rich.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Sorry.
Are you here?
I am here.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's 6 present.
Okay. Will the clerk please read the meeting statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular business meeting of the Borough Council was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posting, filing, and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official Borough newspapers, Home News Tribune, and Star Ledger Publishing Companies on February 20th, 2018. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after the agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. Please rise for a salute to our nation's for a moment of silence, followed by a salute to our nation's flag.
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Okay, first on the agenda this evening is a mayoral proclamation. I wish to issue the following. Wish to declare April 2nd Autism Awareness Day and the month of April Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism, the fastest growing development disability in the United States, affecting more than 3 million people, is an urgent public health crisis that demands a national response. And whereas autism is the result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the human brain and can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. And whereas symptoms and characteristics of autism may present themselves in a variety of combinations and can result in significant lifelong impairment of an individual's ability to learn, develop healthy interactive behaviors, and understand verbal and nonverbal communication. And whereas the effort to address autism continues, doctors, therapists, and educators can help persons with autism overcome or adjust to its challenges and provide early, accurate diagnoses and the resulting appropriate education, intervention, and therapy that are vital to the future growth and development. And whereas ensuring that persons living with autism have access to lifelong care and services needed to pursue the full measure of personal happiness and achieve their greatest potential. And whereas the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, is honored to take part in the annual observance of Autism Awareness Month and World Autism Awareness Day, in the hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the disorder. So now, therefore, I, Eric A. Stieber, Mayor of the Borough of Milltown, do hereby declare April as Autism Awareness Month for the year 2018 and April 2nd, 2018 as Autism Awareness Day in the Milltown Borough to raise public awareness of autism and the myriad of issues surrounding autism, as well as to increase knowledge of the programs that have been and are being developed to support individuals with autism and their families. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Borough of Milltown to be affixed this 9th day of April, 2018. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda tonight, we have two public hearings scheduled for ordinances 18-1458 and 18-1459. The ordinances have been published according to law. Copies have been made available to the public prior to this evening's meetings. I would ask anyone wishing to speak in favor or against the ordinance, when recognized, please clearly state your name and address in the microphone in the center of the room for the record. Will the clerk please read ordinance number 18-1458 by title?
An ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Milltown, more particularly Chapter 26, Sewer, to amend sewer rates.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing for this ordinance. Does anyone have anything they wish to say? Please raise your hand.
Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. Anyone else?
Oh.
Yes, sir.
No.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Sarkozy, 47 West Joffrey Avenue. I just want to say I'm against it. 10% last year, 30% this year, both for the sewer and the water rates. I just hope that you guys could try to figure out some other solution other than putting it on the burden on all the homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Charlie Jago, 16 Janet Court.
Good evening, Mr. Jago. Welcome back.
It's quite a few years.
Nice to see you.
Now, this is about the water rates increase, sewer rates increase. Now, I've been here for quite a few years in Milltown. And I've seen prices go up all along. And I've seen a lot of things that went on where we spent a lot of money foolishly. Now, this is something I don't want to see again. Now, I don't understand where you think that the people that's here, been here for so many years, and people that just moved in can just say, okay, well, we got a couple of problems here, so let's raise the rates up, 40% or 30%. But now, what I'm asking is, okay, let's say you're going to raise that rate to make that whatever, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars you got to pay. Now, as soon as that gets paid off, is that rate going to go right back down to where it was before? That's what I'm asking. Is it?
There's no guarantee. Mr.
Pardon?
There's no guarantee it will go down.
Why not?
There's,
What I'm saying-
there's a hole in the budget of $300,000.
Okay, once that gets paid off,
You're going to start again next year with another budget that, if it has a comparable spending plan, which it could, then you still may end up having a deficit there.
well, what you're saying that, I know what you're saying that. And what we're doing here every time, I blame the mayor and council, and I blame the people at home for not coming down to get the damn thing straight. I know what you're saying is, well, you know what? Maybe we can spend some money someplace else later, so why not just keep increasing the taxes for the people? Now, to me, if you were home, your house, and you got a problem there where you're going to have to start cutting back. Now, I think the mayor and the council, this town, have got to do the same thing. If the people in town can't afford what's going on, if you can't afford it, if I can't afford it at home, I've got to stop. I've got to start cutting back. We can't keep giving our money away. Now, to me, that's a stupid answer what you gave here. Because to me, you should be able to say, yes, we're going to go back on that, and then we'll look later on to see where, if we have to raise the price up again. But for no reason at all, just to say, well, you know what? Let's keep that few extra dollars in the pocket, because maybe a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, well, maybe we might need that extra money. But don't you think the people in Milltown deserve that money in their pocket better than you keeping it in your pocket, the town keeping it in their bank, and saying, well, maybe sometime we might need it? You know what? This isn't crumbs to a lot of people. It's money in their pocket they're giving out. So if that's the kind of answer you're going to give, that, oh, well, maybe at the end of the year, okay, that $300,000 is paid for, but let's keep keeping that 30% coming in, because, you know, I'm sure we can find some place to give that money to, you know, and to me it's stupid. And I'm hoping that, Jesus, come on, the mayor and the council, let's get realistic about this. Let's look at the residents of Milltown. How many people in Milltown you see your for sale signs on? They can't afford to live here. In fact, you're getting to a point in New Jersey, they can't afford to live in New Jersey because everybody's doing the same thing as what you want to do here. Let's raise the taxes higher. Chase these people out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Russ Tangen, 50 Broad Street. If I had my business, I raised the rates 30%, everybody would go somewhere else. We don't have that option here. We don't have the option to get water or sewage from someplace else. You know what I'm saying? You're unbelievable.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael Hall. I live at 44 Janet. I would say this about the budget. You hit someone with that type of rate. I'm a hardworking man, union man. I understand prices, development, labor. I get it. But when I get a product and I get letters from the EPA about how my water's not safe multiple times, over and over, and I have 3 young children, and it's turbidity which means that there's viruses, bacteria, and sediment present in my water, and I turn on the tap and it's yellow and brown, and I'm paying 10 G's in taxes. I mean, I put my boots on and go to work every day, and to me, it's not acceptable. My wife loves the town. But to me, turning on the tap and having a drink Poland Spring, that's another, so you're banging me with another 30% plus the Poland Spring bill I got. Right? That's a joke. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melinda Granieri. I live at 315 Northbrook Drive. I'm a senior. I live alone. I'm one of 15% of the seniors that live in this town and one of the 9% that live alone. I never use the minimum. I have been paying over the minimum for years. Now you want 30% more? Okay, I don't see it. I want to stay in this town. I enjoy being here, but you're pricing me out and you're pricing everybody else out. We need to do something. What are you going to do for the 15% of the seniors who are on fixed incomes? They can't find the extra $15 or $20 or $30 or $40 every quarter that you're going to ask us to pay you, because you haven't figured out a way to cover the $300,000 deficit that somehow has appeared. You need to find another way. It's on our backs and it shouldn't be. I'm sorry. I've lived here for almost 50 years. I'll never be a townie, but I feel like I have a right to an opinion about what's going on in this town.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Joe Demeter, 6 Kearney Drive. I came tonight not intending to speak, but the more I sat here and listened, the more compelled I am. I'm not sure how much work the council's really done to find a creative solution to this $300,000 problem. I think you're taking the easy way out and just putting it on the backs of the taxpayers. Hit them with another tax, hit them with another increase. What other solutions have you explored, Mayor?
There's been a great number of different solutions that have been looked at. There's things that you could do. You could cut the tax. You could raise the tax. The fact of the matter is the town, in order to take care of to pay its bills and its water sewer, needs an additional $300,000.
I'm not going to argue with the reality of the $300,000. It is what it is. But to the gentleman's original comment about that rate increase being baked in on a permanent solution, why not make a one-time assessment, a surcharge of $40 a household to pay off that $300,000, and break it down $10 a quarter? Make it easier for these senior citizens to afford it, but not bake in the rate increase, because you'll never see it go down. And I don't think you have a right to money that you mismanaged to get us here in the first place. So hold off on the rate increase, hit a surcharge in quarterly increments. It seems a little bit more realistic and passionate way of dealing with a really onerous financial problem you're putting on the people of this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I want to reiterate what the last couple of people were talking about, and that's how this...
Can you just say your name and address
for
the
the
record, please?
Bob Skorzinski, 55 Townsend Street. You have to understand, I'm 81 years old, and it's starting to affect me, so if you catch me doing something wrong, just give me a little nudge. But I really want to talk about it. I don't want to get into specifics. I just want to talk about how this rate is going to affect the most vulnerable in Milltown, and that's our seniors. Now, I don't know that much about the other taxpayers. I do know that there's a lot of homes, a lot of families. You have 2 wage earners, you got 2 cars, And if little Johnny needs a baseball bat that costs $250 for Little League, they can go out and get it. Now, the seniors are a little different case here. Milltown has a very high percentage of seniors, and it's not only that we have seniors, we have older seniors. Now, you look around at these senior clubs, you don't see any 60-year-olds. You see a lot of 85 to 90-year-old people here. And really, that's what you have in Milltown, a lot of 80 to 90-year-old seniors, and there's a lot of them. And you have a lot of widows in this town, and these are older widows. These are people whose husband passed away years ago. So on almost every occasion, they've lost a pension. So they're trying to survive strictly in a one-time-a-month Social Security check. And with this Social Security check, they're expected to maintain their homes. They pay your ever-increasing property taxes. When they get a chance, after turning out all the lights in the house and flushing the toilet once every 3 weeks or whatever they have to do to keep the rates down, they do that. But the most onerous thing that we're obligated to do as citizens is, for the last 40 years, most of us have supported the education of our children. We've supported the education of our grandchildren. And now we're supporting the education of your children. And we're doing this on a fixed income. Now, my suggestion here is, when the smoke clears, and the smoke will clear, I hope you will take into consideration either freezing rates on seniors. Now, I'm not saying you should take everybody that's 60 years old and freeze the rate. But there are people here that are the poorest of the poor. And there are people here that are 85 and 90 years old. And there has to be a measure or some way to determine who these people are. And I don't like to reiterate or copy a conversation or a comment by a councilman, but one councilman did make the statement that we don't want to have to choose between paying an increased utility rate or buying food and medicine. And with some of our people, and this isn't grandstanding, folks, this is the way it is in here. So I just want to say, I hope you take heed of the response that you get here. I know how difficult it is that what you're doing. I know all you people. I like you people. I know you're trying to do a good job. But for once, try to put the dollars on the side as much as you can and let your heart do the walking a little bit. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Diane Davis-Shockey, 120 Cleveland Avenue. Every time I get in the shower and the brown water comes out, I think to myself, they tell me this water's okay. You know, my blonde hair turns orange. And you know, I know that you guys are volunteers. You do the best you can. You know, I'm grateful that you serve and you try to take care of our town. I don't know that there's any answer to this solution, but one of the things that I do know is that going forward, I don't think that this town can afford to have these big jumps in the rates. From reading that, the ordinance and everything, it seems as though nothing has happened. 2010, there was a raise in the water rate, and then nobody looked at taking care of the water, and now all of a sudden, we have this big deficit, and we have to pay 30% more. You know, my water bill, I'm a senior, my water bill is $200 and some odd a quarter, right? That's going to be raised probably $47 or something like that. Can I afford it? Well, can I even afford to stay in Milltown? I grew up in this town. I'm in my third house in this town. I had no children. I supported the education of everybody else's children, and I really would like to stay in my town. But you know, I was listening to this young guy over here who is a hardworking guy. You know, it's across the board. And, you know, I just hope and pray that if you guys can't come to a solution, let's hire somebody. Let's hire somebody who could come to a good solution. I don't know what else to say except that, you know, like I said before, I know you're trying your best. You're volunteers. You're not people who are trained to do this. And maybe it's time to step in and occasionally hire some per diem person that can help balance this budget in a different way. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good evening. I haven't been here in a long time, as you know.
Welcome back.
And, but I figured tonight's an important time and I should come. I do appreciate what each and every one of you do. However, you guys got to think of some other solutions. Please take into consideration that a lot of people here are on pensions. They're on fixed incomes. The pensions that we receive, there's no cost of living raise in that pension. So as these costs go up, we have to take away from whatever other things that we do or enjoy, or cut back. And I do believe if we have to cut back, the town has to cut back. In some way, they've got to be more diligent in their budget. We get, as a senior, you get a raise in your Social Security. But this raise is fast, it's gone, because the cost of your Medicare or your insurance creeps up, and you don't see that raise in your Social Security at all. So that basically stays level too. And I think to younger people, you don't realize this. I didn't realize it either until I got to that age when we had to take our pensions and our Social Security as well. And then I realized it stays level. It never goes up, and it can go down. That's another thing. Another thing is, say you get an overage in the funds going into the sewer fund or the water fund. What happens to that overage? Can it be borrowed to go into general?
No.
It can't.
No, not in the water sewer utility. That was an ordinance that was passed, probably at least 10 years ago or so. 2010 it was passed. The electric fund is different.
The electric?
Electric subsidizes the current fund. Water sewer does not.
It can't go to the general fund to pay any
No, there was an ordinance passed by council.
It's allowable in New Jersey, but
not in Milltown.
Council several years ago passed an ordinance because there was a lot of projected capital work to be done. Instead of subsidizing the current fund, they needed to keep that money within the water sewer fund to pay for those projects. So, but your question is, if we have excess money that we collect,
yes.
we measure that once a year. We measure the fund balance here once a year. So that won't be determined until December 31st when the books are closed. And then the process starts all over again with the budget and with the advertisements and with looking at prior year's revenues and what we can anticipate in the current year budget. So no, that only occurs once a year. Now sometimes there may be an early warning signal that could occur in November. That might, for example, you could, I don't know, but some places it will hit the revenue target maybe in November or December. But that all ends up at the end, again, when you close the books, and that would flow into next year. If there was any bonus money left over, that would try to be, reprogrammed into the next year's budget. This budget has $500,000 of fund balance in it. We finished the year with $502,000.
You're going to finish with 502 after the
did.
deficit?
We did.
No, $502,000 was left as of December 31st of 2017. Of that $502,000, we are using $500,000 to balance this current fund, to balance this water sewer fund budget. still leaving us a deficit of $300,000.
Now, what happens if you get an abundance, an overage?
That'll flow into the 2019 budget plan.
Then would you see a decrease in your water sewer rates?
It's a possibility. It would be a council decision.
And it's contingent upon the spending plan. The spending plan drives the revenue assumptions. That's how we got to the point where we need $300,000 more.
Okay, I see.
It's measured annually, it's monitored, and...
Also, just, go ahead. Mr. Jagu, I just want to give you an analysis of fund balance, okay? Through the end of 16, we ended with $951,000. At the end of 17, we were down to $502,000, which is a $450 reduction in fund balance, which is another reason why this $300,000 shortfall is in existence.
Okay.
So we are finding that consumption is down, so people are not using as much, and that's another problem which is also occurring and which is creating. Right, exactly. You're right, and I understand that, but that's another issue.
Right, and you can imagine what's going to happen now. People are going to use less water consumption.
You very well could be right. It very well can be, and it probably will be.
They're going to have to give up something to pay their bills.
I understand, but I'm just giving you the facts.
Well, I think you guys got to come up with another solution. I don't think this is good for any of us, including the people with young children and people with college-age children. It's going to affect every single person in town, and it's making it harder to stay here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Mangarella, 73 Oach Avenue. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's Och, we all spell it, O-C-H-S.
I say Oaks.
Okay, it's been a while since I've been here, but before I begin, I want to say to each and every one of you, thank you for serving our town. However, it seems as of late that Milltown is becoming a partisan political place. And the one thing that I liked about Milltown, it was that you didn't walk around who had a D or an R or an independent on their shirt. But as of late, when you see stuff in mailers, stuff on their Facebook pages, political Facebook pages, you start seeing the pitting between the Republicans, the Democrats, Republicans. And that stops growth. That stops us getting down and figuring out the problems that are occurring in this town. When you're loyal to your party, you are not loyal to every citizen in this town that pays taxes. So I'm asking each and every one of you to drop your political parties and get to the bottom of this problem. When I first moved here in 1996, my taxes were $3,200 for a 3-bedroom ranch. I'm at $10,200. And it wasn't because of a Republican or it wasn't because of a Democrat. It was because of the management of this town and how we don't bring in business, and that's our biggest problem. Do you have a plan? What's our business plan to offset the ratables here? Mom and pop stores aren't doing it. How many of them are in arrears? How many people are in arrears here when it comes to paying their water, their sewage, and their electric? I heard it's over $1 million. Is that true?
No. On $182,000.
Out of everybody and every business in Milltown?
Yes.
Correct.
That's it.
I mean, that's still December 31st of 17.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, but maybe if that's still a lot of money, over $100,000 for a small town.
Well, if we're looking for 3 and there's already 182 outstanding, that's part of the problem.
And that's telling you that the people can't afford it. So if you're going to charge us 30% more, you're going to have more people and more businesses in arrears. But to get back to this, I have to challenge you as a council to sit down and think of a business plan. I mean, Trina hit the nail on the head. I read a little article today, and she was talking about we need a capital plan. It appears that we haven't had a capital plan in this town for many, many years. Or if we did, we never stood by it.
Actually, we have one that the engineer prepared.
Well, obviously, it didn't work for the sewer and the water.
And that's the one we've had it for 20 years?
I'd say at least 10.
Seven.
Yeah,
2011.
So why didn't it
been going
work?
on
Why
a
don't
while.
we have anything, why haven't you built anything in over the years for bursting pipes? It's an old town.
Well, they have, but the problem is the rates have not been raised along to keep the money, enough money coming in to make sure that they can continue to do all of these plans. Now, we had done,
So maybe it would have been better if you raised us 2%, 3% over the years instead of waking up and you're all just saying, hey, 30%. And
that's a great idea.
Well, it's a little late now.
I'm with you.
30%, and then hearing that you need to make up this deficit, but now it's going to be built in. You know, once we give you tax money for any town, any state, they're never going to give it back, at least not full 30%. But I think you do have to understand, we have a lot of seniors in this town. I mean, I do okay, but it's getting tough. It's getting tighter and tighter. I have a daughter that goes to another school, and the tuition's pretty hefty. So I'm not getting a lot of bang for my buck here, and I haven't really complained. I've gotten less services. I get maggots now in the summer in my garbage because, you know, we were told that twice a week we're going to have better roads and all this. I don't see that, but I see an increase in the maggots, you know, and to me that's a health hazard. I mean, but that's here nor there, but our school tax, she wants to go up 2.1%, I heard. That's going to be added on there. Every year she keeps going up, the superintendent. Our teachers aren't getting a better salary. And that's a crime. But, and then the borough wants to raise taxes. What are we looking at per household?
Mr. Dixon, do you have a number on that?
Between water, sewer, borough, and school tax.
Do you know what the, what's the tax looking at this year?
Something like, in the 160 range as introduced.
Right.
The budget as introduced showed just the municipal portion about $160.
Just the municipal.
Just
right.
municipal.
We don't know school.
We don't speak for the school or the county.
And that's my other question. Do you sit with the school board? I know when I was on the school board, we met with the mayor and the town council.
There's a liaison.
But it seems like lately it's like, hey, I'm the one that wants to screw over the taxpayer. It's my turn. But
well,
now it's...
I think what it is as long as the school board stays under their 2%, they're A-okay, and they just keep
But
rolling.
that wasn't the way it was supposed to be.
Well,
I was on the board when that came through.
Well, that's the way that it has become.
It has to stop. And
Well,
when is the council going to speak
If I
up?
was a member of the school board, yeah, it might be a little bit different.
But who's going to speak up? I mean, we come here, we yell, we complain. Ford Avenue's still a dump. I moved in here. That place was a dump, and it's still a dump. 1996, 2018. And I call around. Well, it's the Republican. Well, it's the get over the party politics.
Well, that's actually still tied up in municipal court, and that's what's driving that. It has nothing to do with either party.
Well, that's what I get told from both sides.
Well, I'm telling you, this is what it is. It's tied up in municipal court, and the owner is made to clean up, and he has to deal with the municipal attorney, and they're trying to get that thing cleaned up.
20 years. 20 years. Can't we just take a bulldozer in the middle of the night like every other town does?
Well, they did that, but they need to start picking it up now. There's nobody up here that will disagree with you.
Do we have a business plan? Do you guys meet and speak about bringing business to Milltown to help set off the rates?
No. Not to my knowledge. No.
How about I challenge you to do that?
Okay. And we're going to put a factory where?
It doesn't mean factory. It means business, like another home, you have a home.
Well, actually, you know what? There are a number of
businesses. So that's what you tell me.
There are a number of businesses.
I didn't run to run the town. You did.
There are a number of businesses coming to town.
Mom and pop stores aren't doing it.
Mr. Mayor?
This is going out on Riders Lane. They're looking to put.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
for purposes of the agenda items, this is the public discussion has to be confined to the subject at hand, which would be the sewer ordinance.
Well, that would also be
18,
because
14,
if we had
58.
more businesses, we would have better rateables.
The comments have to be, ma'am, the comments have to be confined to dealing with the sewer ordinance.
Do we all agree that we need a business plan in this town?
Anyone else?
Hi, Carolyn Viola, 17 DeBonis Drive. I'm not going to repeat what everybody has eloquently stated already about our discontent with the rate hike. We all are clearly against what was a 10% increase and now a proposed 30% increase. And I think everybody's made their case pretty clearly. But I think what's truly bothering me is that from my perspective as a resident of Milltown, there seems to be a growing disconnect between what we're paying and what we're getting in return. And with all due respect, Mayor Stieber, some of your comments at a recent meeting about if we're not willing to pay, we should back up the moving truck or stop drinking $6 Starbucks, frankly, is completely offensive to every resident in this town. It's not your business or anyone on this council's business if I want to set fire to $100,000 in my backyard. That's not your business. I work hard for my money, and I like to pay for what I get in return. What I'm getting in return is smelly brown water, a $1,000 quarter water bill I received last summer when I didn't even live in my home that summer. And I was told it was a leaky pipe in my irrigation system, which was never proven. But I paid it because what am I going to do, take Milltown to court over the water? We drive down roads that are riddled with potholes. We stare at a site that looks like the bombed remains of Sarajevo every single day. But the perspective that you gave at that meeting, and that seems to be prevailing, not from all, but many of the members on this council, is that we have it's a privilege we get to live here, and we're willing to keep opening up our wallets left and right and paying. Guess what? I sat with 6 other families in Milltown, most of which grew up here, all of whom moved back, bought good homes, have improved them. We're all talking about moving because what we pay is not what we get in return. This is not Short Hills, Mayor Stieber. This is Milltown. We moved here to raise our kids in a good school system, and with full disclosure, I am on the school board. And I know that that bill is a hardship for every resident in this town. But I will go on record, and anyone is willing, including you, because you so eloquently offered to, if you ran the school board, you could do it better. Please come to a meeting. Work with us on the budget. I will argue, and I might be biased, that at least we're getting a return on that investment in our kids' education. The money we're paying this town is obviously going nowhere. And that has to change, or you're going to lose all the young families, the families who want to be part of this town, see it grow, see it thrive, people who want to start businesses. Enough is enough. I moved back here because I had this pipe dream that Milltown could be better than it was, and it's just been stagnant. And once that Ford Avenue development came down, I mean, it's an embarrassment. I don't know how any of you can sit up there and sleep at night not doing something more about it. I know it is wrapped up in litigation. I know it's a nightmare, but something has to be done. Take the stones away at least. And regarding the looking at the budget as a whole, how about you look at the budget as a whole and maybe skim some other areas? How about the largest bond you took out in Milltown history for $15.7 million for a new firehouse and a Department of Public Works? Can you shave $300,000 off of that? Shave $300,000 off that.
Can you say that again? I couldn't hear.
The bond for the Public Works and Fire Department building, $15.7 million. There's not $300,000 that might be able to be skimmed off that. We need a full, I'm not saying it's not going to cost money. I'm not ignorant. But we need a almost $16 million Public Works and Firehouse building.
I think it's 11.6. Mike?
Still too much. Still too much.
Something has to change. You're out of touch with the residents of Milltown. Look around. It's seniors, it's young families, and frankly, whether they're struggling or whether they are living high on the hog, it's not your right to take their hard-earned money for what seems to be a reason that was caused by mismanagement of funds. I do have one question, actually. How did this sneak up on us? How did we suddenly find out that we're $300 in a hole? When the budget was first prepared, towards the end of last year, beginning of January or so, when all the numbers got put together, obviously there's statutory numbers that you can't change. There's salary, which is contractual. When everything was actually put together and all, the deficit was more like $600,000. Why? So what, can I speak? I'm letting you. I had a follow-up question. Okay. So anyway, what happened was I cut the budget as much as I possibly could that I felt that the town that we could live with, because if we have an over expenditure, that needs to be raised in next year's budget, which is a problem. Okay, follow me? Or no? Yes. Okay. So anyway, that's when it got down to $300,000. And that's when the Finance Committee got together and everything and said, okay, this is the numbers we need to come up with, and obviously we're not coming up with this increase in an entire year because it starts in April. So that makes it even more difficult. And that's where we are today. Is everyone satisfied with that explanation? No. You're more than welcome to look at the budget document. You're more than welcome to look at the backup. So this couldn't have been caught sooner with quarterly reviews or someone watching the shop, or it just was run rampant and we ended up in a hole? No, it's not run rampant. Quite a bit of it has to do with the bills that come from New Brunswick, because we purchase our water from them, and we send our sewer to them. Those are costs that basically we can't control, because we don't know how much water we're going to purchase from them, and we don't know how much sewer. The sewer charge is based on what we purchase from water from New Brunswick. Those rates have been going up consistently over the last 8 to 10 years. We have not passed it on to the residents and the users in Milltown. Why is that? If we were to come in front to if the council was to come in front of the residents and say, okay, we're going to raise your water and sewer rates 10%, you guys would stand up here and say, well, how come? Well, why? Well, why? And what are we going to say? Oh, because in anticipation of a rate increase from New Brunswick? I don't know that the residents would accept that. I really don't. I mean, you tell me. I think that they would accept that more than a 30% increase. And I know I'm out of time. I'm getting the orchestra music, but I just want to follow up that anyone is willing to come to a Board of Ed meeting and talk about a budget, meet with RBA, meet with the super, call me, email me personally if you have questions about it, and we'd be happy to talk through it. I don't really appreciate the arrogance I just saw. I think that was a little out of line, but here we are. Thank you.
Denise, you're my favorite. Your name's Denise?
Hold it, excuse me.
How you doing, Mayor?
Name?
Michael Hall, 44 Janet Court. Sorry, sir.
I'm sorry, what is it?
You're my favorite. You're my numbers lady. I love numbers.
Okay, come on down.
No, but this is what I like. Now, is this analyzed quarterly, like a business, or is it annually at the end of the year? So it's hard to make projections, is what you're saying? It's
yes,
hard.
It is.
It's hard to hedge and predict what the numbers will be. Correct?
Pretty much, because you don't know what consumption.
You don't know what consumption.
Also realize that when people with water and everything, water is billed quarterly. Okay.
Correct.
And just say you're red. You're part of the town. I'm being fictitious here.
Mm-hmm.
You're red on what are we in March, April? So you're red the beginning of April. That bill does not go out until maybe the third week in April, and it's due 20-some days after. So we're not receiving that cash until June. So what's going out in say November? We don't know what's going to come in. We're not on an accrual basis. We are on a cash basis.
Which is good. Cash is king.
Exactly, right.
Now, here's my question.
That's the difference.
This is the biggest question.
Go ahead.
How do you get leverage? How do you get leverage to negotiate your price down with New Brunswick? Because it's
a contract.
It's a contract. Who negotiates? How do we negotiate that contract? How does that process happen? Who's in charge of that negotiation? Because that's important. Solid leadership leads to solid results.
There's two components, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's two components to the bill. The sewer, which New Brunswick bills us, however, is treated by the Middlesex Utilities Authority.
So we got two parties involved now, right?
New Brunswick adds on, tax on a percentage.
Are we watching him like a hawk?
The
sewer, just to go back, we get a bill from New Brunswick for sewer. It's based on the MCUA charges that are charged to New Brunswick, plus an add-on.
Correct.
Okay, that's for the sewer. That's measured quarterly, but it's not reconciled until after the year ends and the year closes out, and they all know what their charges are. The water, and by the way, the sewer bill is a function of water consumption.
Correct.
So I believe the engineer could speak to whether it's actually the water purchases are monitored, what is it, quarterly or monthly or whatever. So they kind of work hand in hand, but we're at the, I can't find the right word, but we have to follow New Brunswick on this one in terms of what they charge us.
But again, there's got to be someone negotiating that price, correct? Making that contract happen? And who's...
It's a contract that was entered into, I believe, in...
A long time ago.
As far as I can remember, I'm sorry if my memory doesn't serve me 100%, I believe the contract was entered into in 2012, and the rates were established for 5 years. A new rate chart was every few years. They give us a rate chart. Recently, they gave us, not recently, but they gave us the 2016 and 2017 rates. They'll update us again with the rates for the ensuing years. We are under contract with New Brunswick, I believe, until 2020, which is what we agreed to in order to provide water services to us. It's not a contract with the rates that we, per se, negotiate with them, because it's a charge that we have to get and it's a service they have to provide. So they establish those rates based on their costs and a certain upcharge, per se, to us.
Of course, that's their cream.
Right, so.
But here's what I'm saying, who can either regulate or negotiate how much cream they take off the top when they hit Milltown? Because it sounds like you have no bargaining power. It sounds like you're walking into a room with no ammo. You know what I mean?
Basically, in most cases, increases are done by price indexes. Again, because I don't have it in front of me, I can't tell you that off the top of my head. That's normally how increases are done. It can't usually be, unless there's an extenuating circumstance, you can't just say within an interlocal where you're under contract for that long that it's going to go. It's usually based off of a specific index, which, like a CPI, which is Consumer Price Index. I don't know if that's the one we're utilizing.
Is that based nationally, regionally?
Again, it depends on which index you're utilizing, and they can be based on region. Usually it's dictated in the contract. I don't know off the top of my head if we've used
I think that's your key, Mayor. You got to have something to go in there and say, hey.
There's a lot of keys.
Well, we've gone back to the table with New Brunswick several times. Unfortunately, our sewer charges are based on our water consumption. If we were to utilize an alternate source for our water supply, we would have to subsequently find a source for a disposal facility to dump our sewage to. And we've got a force main in town that needs replacement in the coming years. We've got to provide some analysis on which direction we're going to be taking with that. There are other options on the table. We can look at those, but if you change your water source, you have to figure out where your sewer is going. And if New Brunswick started charging us for our sewer flow out into them, we could see that rate significantly increase because of our inflow and the infiltration that we have in the system, people's sump pumps, people's downspouts, water flowing off the street into our sewer system. So after careful analysis, and we'll continue to analyze the budget, we have determined that at this time, New Brunswick kind of is our best option. It doesn't mean we're not going to continue to consider other options, but we have to do so with the understanding that it could lead us down a rabbit hole of resulting in that New Brunswick is our best option for this at the time. So, folks, this is not the end-all, be-all, and I'm sorry to interject here. I know everyone's passionate and they don't want to see their rates going up, but we're unfortunately playing the cards we're dealt. We can't fold. We can't ask for a new hand. We get through this. We continue to analyze and figure out the best plan for Milltown moving forward. You have my word on that, and I think you have the rest of the council's word on that. But unfortunately, this is the state we're in at this time.
I would say you got to find a place to leverage, get that price down. Whether maybe it's making the town reinvest in itself. Maybe slowly just build that fund up to build your own water source and treatment. You don't need much. Milltown's small. And like I said, that long-term growth, whether it be bonds, investing that money, making it work for you, and then investing it into a project, creates jobs, and it also brings business. And you could also explore the private sector. That whole Ford Avenue, that's a lot of good land. If somehow that gets cleared up, I don't know.
Good thoughts.
It's a tough problem.
Good thoughts, thank you. Anyone else?
evening, Ralph Miller, 7 Buyer. Regarding the water increase, could we possibly keep the minimum amount the same and look at imposing another tier in the other levels of the charges, and do a what-if scenario on several different levels and see where you want to place those other increases? That would help the seniors that Mrs. Skozinski is talking about.
One of the things we'll be evaluating with next year is whether or not we can lower the bottom tier for the minimum usage. But at this time, the numbers work in order to make the sewer minimum charge 7,500 gallons to match that of the water. And hopefully we're out of this hole next year with the usage. Again, you've heard that our budget is based on consumption. Well, consumption becomes irrelevant less than 7,500 gallons because that's money that we know will be coming in. And that's unfortunately how we have to budget. But next year, if we see that we can work with the numbers we have at hand, possibly bringing that down to 5,000 gallons for minimum usage, understanding that there's approximately 300 customers in the borough that use the minimum or less based on their bills. That's something we can definitely look into, and I want to look into. But at this time, it's not an option because we have to make the numbers work in order to make the budget whole.
All right.
But thank you.
Okay, I'm confused on the sewage contract. Does New Brunswick process our sewage?
No.
Middlesex County Sewage Authority does. So I don't understand the relationship with buying water and them charging us for sewage processing.
It started about 100 years ago when about 30 homes in Milltown were polluting the Lawrence Brook with their sewage directly in. And at the time, Milltown had its own water going, and New Brunswick said, well, if you let us sell you water, we'll take care of your sewer treatment. And that's where it all started.
You mean the sewer billing?
Well, they would take this, they would allow us to pump the sewage to New Brunswick. They would take it and send it, well, eventually to Middlesex County Utility Authority, but I'm sure back then it was probably the city of New Brunswick taking care of it and
so that's
putting it out in a Raritan.
Yeah, that's because they ran the trunk sewer down. Yeah. They ran the trunk sewer out along the Raritan River. Yeah, so that's how they more or less interjected
that's themselves
into
That's how they've become our unfortunate partner in this.
So about 3 years ago, I brought a proposal to one of the council members to look at purchasing water from North Brunswick. Everybody I talked to in North Brunswick pays half the bill we do for water. I gave them names and phone numbers, but I don't see if we can go to, incidentally, you know they built a new water treatment plant there. And speaking to the mayor, he says, sure, we'd look for customers to offset some of our expense. Is it possible to change in 2020 to North Brunswick, but then how would we process our sewage? Yeah, because we would have to pay New Brunswick some kind of usage on those pipes. Maybe
unfortunately, I'm sorry to cut you off, but unfortunately North Brunswick actually conveys their sewage through New Brunswick as well, so we'd be succumbed to the same charges. Unless we build our own force main going directly to the MCUA and generate North Brunswick as a customer of ours for sewage, and we are a customer of theirs for water. But again, that'd be a charge that building the force main system to the MCUA would be something the borough would have to undertake. So you got to spend money to make money or spend money to balance it. We've got tough decisions ahead of us, and these are all things that we're currently working with our borough engineer on to determine whether or not the feasibility of rebuilding or renovating our force main that goes into New Brunswick is the best option for us, or finding an alternate route and going to the MCUA directly ourselves.
Well, assuming that we cannot do anything about the sewer route or charges, is there a difference between North Brunswick water charges and New Brunswick water charges, water rates, in their billing process?
North Brunswick, I believe they have their own operating system, of which New Jersey American Water operates their system. We would have to pay a premium to North Brunswick in order to obtain water from them. Essentially, they treat their own, or with the assistance of New Jersey American Water and their treatment plant on Canal Road.
Yes.
Would convey it to Milltown. We'd also have to build an interconnect capable of handling the amount of water flow and pressure that we need to supply the borough of Milltown. To my knowledge, the existing interconnect would not be sufficient, other than the fact that North Brunswick does run down Route 1 with their water. They'd have to interconnect at Elkins Lane, similar in the manner that New Brunswick does. But in the end, we still have the issue of what do we do with our sewage, because keep in mind, please, that New Brunswick charges us sewage not on our sewage flow, but rather on our water flow. So all of our drainage problems that add more flow into the sewer system, New Brunswick currently doesn't have the right to charge us for, and that's still a matter of debate with the city of New Brunswick. But we're only paying for how much water we use. So one way or another, we're going to have to bite the bullet and make a decision. That's going to result in projects moving forward to improve our system. Again, where does the money come from?
Well, we can verify the water usage independently from North Brunswick if we were to go to them and supply that to the county or to New Brunswick, I'm sorry.
All things we have to consider. Thank you.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Tom Quitniak, 8 Nelson Drive. I hate speaking, you know that, Eric. I freeze up. But this little group reminds me of something that happened 250 years ago, or about. And they got a little mad, they threw some tea in the harbor because it was taxation without representation. I know you have Republicans and Democrats up here, and we voted you in and everything. But a funny thing, I have friends who are staunch Republicans. I have friends who are staunch Democrats and independents. And I ask them all, hey, what do you think of the increase? They all say the same thing. We don't want it. We don't want it. Can I ask how much the municipal budget is?
The municipal?
Yeah.
I don't have it here with me, but I want to say probably right around 10 million, 9.9.
$10 million. I spent 33 years in state government. Guaranteed, you could look at that budget and find $300,000.
Sir, you're talking two different budgets. You asked me for the current fund budget, that's what I gave you. You didn't ask me for the water sewer budget.
I didn't want the water sewer budget. But we can borrow from the municipal budget, can't we?
Sure.
No. Yeah.
Well, you can't borrow.
You can't borrow, but we can take. They can do an ordinance and take it from the municipal budget.
No.
No.
No?
The budget laws do not allow us to...
Is that right, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
Is that right, Borough Attorney?
Yes, and I'm deferring to the auditor on that as well.
Okay, so we can't take the money.
If you're allowed to finance deficits, okay, in the utility funds with current fund money. However, that deficit is budgeted inside the spending cap.
Okay, but we can borrow the money.
No, that's not borrowing.
Okay.
You're not borrowing. You can make a transfer. But let me finish. There's a spending cap in place inside the current fund.
Okay. I think Murphy's going to remove that, but that's another story.
Okay, well, that's... We only have $19,000 left in our spending cap, okay? When you're financing a deficit in a utility with current fund money, taxpayers' money, okay, it can only be funded inside the spending cap.
Okay.
So we don't have that capability.
But if we find more money in the municipal budget with that $19,000 increase, possibly.
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay, that's good. Because I looked at the municipal budget a few years ago. You know, I'm not a numbers person. You know, 2 and 2 is 7, you know. But there were some odd things. And one thing that stood out for me is in Milltown, and I don't know if they still do, but we used to buy coffee for the senior citizen complex with our tax dollars. Yeah, that was in the budget there. It was one of those little line item all the way down. You have a lot of smart people in this town. Why don't you get a group of 7 or 8 or 9 people, let them go through your budget. Let's see where you could cut. Let's increase that $19,000 out. Let's take some money out there. Because like my neighbor Marianne said, taxes are ridiculous. Taxes are ridiculous. I pay $12,000. You know, I have a house down the shore the same size. I pay $6,000. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know? So let's utilize the people we have. And let's not make this a Democrat or Republican thing. I'm a Milltowner. I've been a Milltowner since 1982. I still look around and think I'm just the new guy in town, but now I'm the old guy in town. But let's talk to some of these people. We have accountants, we have CPA, we have people who deal with millions and millions and millions of dollars in budgets all the time. Let them look at our books. Let them go through it. Let's see where we can save money. Because it is about saving money. Okay? But one thing is important. Let's work together, not as Republicans, not as Democrats, but as Milltowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Karen Lewicki. I live on 19 Violet Terrace.
1 minute, please. Let them go out so we can hear you. Please start again.
Hi, my name is Karen Lewicki. I live at 19 Violet Terrace. And I'm not real good at the speaking out loud stuff, but just hearing everybody talking about the budget, and I was just wondering, we have 4th of July here every year. How much of our budget goes to that? I would think that would be something that we would probably all be willing to give up to avoid the 30% increase. I mean, myself, I would be.
Okay, I'll allow that question.
I'll give you a ballpark because I haven't really done an analysis of it. Probably I wasn't asked to do it in the last couple of years. I would say the overtime for the police is somewhere in the mid $20,000 range.
Yeah.
Borough, DPW, a lot of them will take comp time, so it's not as costly, probably a couple thousand. And then the borough also contributes $5,000 towards the fireworks.
That's a drop in the bucket. I thought it would be more than that. Okay, well.
Sorry.
Maybe it's a thought.
It's a good thought, though.
Okay, well, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How you doing? Mike Olashinsky, 71 Clay Street, Milltowner, born here, lived here, raised my kids here. I just have one question. We buy our water from New Brunswick. Everybody complains it's bad water. Have we asked New Brunswick for a rebate for selling us bad water?
Have we asked them for a rebate?
So they sell us bad water.
No, I think the water that we get from them is fine. The problem lies inside the pipes here in town.
I don't think so. I work at Robert Wood in New Brunswick, and our water's atrocious. So I think New Brunswick's water coming out the front has a lot of problems to go with. So I don't know, if we were negotiating a price, do we get a break for getting a bad product?
We will certainly make sure our engineer and water operator get on top of that and take a look.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name and address, please.
How does it work?
Name and address, please.
Marianne Mangarella, 73 OCHS.
Thank you.
How are we charged when we water our lawns, wash our cars, fill our swimming, I don't have a pool, but fill our swimming pools? Do we get charged since the sewage and the water is mirrored? So it calculates also as sewage usage?
The amount of water you use is directly associated to the amount you're charged for your sewer.
So
Your
trying to be
sewer charge,
conservative and
right.
not flushing your toilet means nothing.
Well, it
Not
does
that-
because you use less water, thus you pay less sewage.
Okay.
cost.
Is there a way to get an outdoor, someone told me there was a thing, you could get a meter for outside water usage that will not go towards your sewer usage. It's
No.
called an air, in New
Well,
Brunswick,
that could
they,
be in places where they meter the sewerage, but in Milltown, what happens is, the water that the town uses, okay, the bill gets sent to the town. Say that the town uses 1 million gallons. The town gets a bill for 1 million gallons of water, and then we have to pay for 1 million gallons of sewage to be treated. What comes in goes out. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
do you think that's good? Is there any way to
Do I
fight
think
that?
it's good? Well, again, this is something that would have to be negotiated with the city of New Brunswick.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think one of the other aspects that we have to consider too is that the borough itself utilizes water that benefits the residents. For example, we do hydrant flushing twice a year, at which point we open up fire hydrants, let the water run clean to try and remove some of the tuberculation and brown water problems throughout the borough to ease the strain on the residents. That water's not metered. You know, where would the cost go for paying for that water? So unfortunately, the only way we can do it at this time with our current infrastructure of water meters is to charge each resident equally based on their water consumption for sewage. I understand that, you know, I turned my water system off, my sprinklers in my front yard, but unfortunately there's no other system currently in place that we can adapt to overnight or easily in order to accommodate those residents with watering sprinklers or filling their pools or et cetera.
Do you have any plans to look into something, Rich?
I would love to. I mean, you know, one of the big concerns of mine is to provide a meter reading system that is all digital that can give us accurate flows so we understand how much we're, say, bringing into town during a rain event and how much sewage we're pumping, so we can start to determine where we have infiltration and inflow issues to reduce the excess water that's going into our sewer system, start analyzing the pressure differentials in pipes throughout town, but it all costs money. And unfortunately, we don't have the money to implement it. There's so many things we can do to improve our system, we just don't have the money to do it. And you know, arguing over the water rates, no one wants to do it, and we want to lower them as soon as we can once the money is put back into the budget. But you know,
So if we have more
we don't have an answer at this time other than, you know, we have to make the budget whole.
So if we have more pipes that break and we have to repair them, are you going to come back at us next year and say you need 30% more? If there's no plan?
No, hopefully not. You know, this.
Hopefully? All right, so you will.
Well, I'm sorry. You know, hold on just a second there. Hopefully not. Hopefully that at the end of this year we'll see that we've generated $300,000 that we need in the budget over the course of 6 months or 2 billing periods. And we can say, hey, projected moving forward, we can drop things back down. Back in 2010, and I believe Councilman Dixon has the statistics on this, but we raised the water and sewer rates up about 40%, and after 1 year the budget was made whole, we dropped those back down.
Okay. So you're going to work on a capital plan, Trina?
Actually, Mrs. Mangarella, I have it right here, and I'll be happy to share it with you. And it's interesting because you said, you know, what's been done. So this was provided by the borough engineers in 2011. And on here are, starting in 2011, or 2010 actually, was about $13 million in water system capital needs. And it lists out 6 different things that would be done, and they could be spread out over the course of 8 years. As you can see on here, 0. Nothing has been done on that.
Wow.
It's also on the top here is the sewerage system capital needs. There was $710,000 in 2011 for the Washington Avenue pump station. There's
How much was that?
This was in 2011, $710,000. $50,000 a year for the Milltown sewer line on the Georges Road sewer manholes. But again, there's a lot of, and they were prioritized actually. The number one issue was the William Street Tank Emergency Pumping Station. Number 2 was the water tank over by Home Depot. But, you know, again, it hasn't been year after year, and we've been, you know, going back and forth over this a lot. And my pitch was that, you know, you need to, just like you do in your home. You know, I need to get a new roof, but, you know, I have to put a little money aside because right now I'm paying college tuition, so you can't spend more than you have, and you have to sort of have a plan, like we're going to spend this much this year on that, and have a priority for that. So there's a whole capital plan, there's 3 pages of it, and unfortunately there hasn't been, you know, every year a little bit put aside for things like that. So I agree with you. You know, we need to come, and if we can't do it,
So
then we have to tighten our belt.
How do we make it happen? How do we tell the council and our mayor that we need a capital plan? Because next year it's going to be the same old, you know what, running down our sewer and into our
There is a
pockets.
capital plan, okay? The problem with a capital plan is, though, it costs money. Every item on that list, you could probably add it up, it's probably, what, about $100 million? Between roads, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. Okay, so here we are looking to really raise, what it essentially is raise $300,000, perhaps, to take care of just getting the budget filled so we can take care of our obligations. And everyone's out. So how can you talk about doing a large capital improvement program that takes a lot of money?
Because nobody's done it since 2011. If you guys would have just chipped away, I don't know what year you got on, but everybody, if you would have just chipped away instead of saying, no. Now look, we don't even have a rainy day fund. We're screwed. And to hear you just say, well, now we can't. Trina, I charge you with that mission. And
I agree.
I'll rally people behind you to get it done, because you have to be responsible with your budget.
Pardon me?
You have to be responsible with your budget, and you have to plan something. Don't sit there and tell me you can't do it because we're a little upset that you're going to charge us 30%. No, we're mad.
Well, that's good. Anyone else? Yes, Ralph.
Ralph Miller, 7 Buyer Avenue. Infiltration and what is it? What is it?
Infiltration and inflow.
Inflow, okay. Don't they have seals for the sewer lids, covers?
Yes, they do.
Have we looked into that?
Yes, the borough has.
What are the plans?
In the planning that was done, and obviously the plan has to be amended as indicated earlier, there are a proposal to spend a certain amount of money every year to improve the actual collection system. But one of the things that has to be done is the force main also needs to be attentioned, which is the biggest nut, to the tune of $5 or $6 million. So.
Excuse me, is that the whole line?
The whole line.
Okay. Is that total replacement of the whole line?
That'd be total replacement, Ralph.
Okay.
Right. So that in the various discussions over the years with the utility departments, trying to come to terms with that cost has really been the problem. As far as a yearly allotment in the plan to do the basically aligning of the sewers, that is in the plan, and I can't speak for the decision to what to spend money on, but obviously the sewer utility is going to have a significant impact if you start doing the cleaning and lining. You have several miles of sanitary sewer. The lining program would cost significant dollars. The priority was to get the force main fixed first, or replaced is really a better word, and then obviously you can go back to those other improvements.
Do you have an idea how much one of those seals cost for the manhole?
Well, for the manholes, it's about $2,500 for each manhole.
Each seal?
Yeah. Because not only do you seal...
I just assumed it was a rubber grommet.
I wish, Ralph, it was that. Really what happens is that you not only have seal the casting, which some of your castings need to be replaced, but also the whole entire manhole. You have many brick sewers and brick manholes, and those have become not all of them, but some have become, obviously, there's over 100 years old. These facilities have lasted a very long time. You're not the only one, by the way. Milltown's not the only town in this position, but
Well, all the old
point
towns
is, yeah, to seal the manhole, you're probably looking at least $2,500, maybe more.
That's a lot of money. I guess that's going to be bonding capital along with the replacement of the force line.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, there has been work done. You know, obviously, what was discussed by Trina earlier, the Washington Avenue pumping station was eliminated some years back, and a new pipe put across, as you know, Ralph. So that's been a major move in the right direction, because not only did you obviously invested some money, but you're also saving money on maintenance of a pumping station and of course electric, and that pumping station was inundated by the floods and was affected every time the flood. So you are making some progress, but there's a lot of improvements you need, and that's only the sewer side.
How long would it take to replace our main line out of town?
Force main from start to design, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3
time
years.
You get the design.
That would be running pipes parallel to the...
That's not full construction, rather. Probably about 6 to 9 months to build it, but the permits and approvals would take several years.
Okay. Well, regarding that, and I don't know if you can build this into your budget or start thinking about it, and you know it's coming. If Ford Avenue, when they do get developed, it's 72 to 75,000 more gallons a day. And that's using their numbers. I have their papers. When that hits, we're going to either have to float a bond issue immediately to pay for this, because, as Mike just said, we're looking at, what, 5 million at least, probably more. So keep that in the back of your head, because that one's coming.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask the council for their consideration.
Move that this resolution be adopted.
This is a ordinance.
No.
Looking for second and final reading and published according to law?
Yeah. I move that this ordinance...
Looking for second and final reading and published according to law.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Revelinsky, seconded by Council President Dixon, that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and published according to law. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a really difficult position that we're all in, and as was mentioned, Middlesex County Utility Authority has brought in charges to New Brunswick, and New Brunswick has brought in charges to us. Now, what they've been doing incrementally is charging their residents as well as now us. It's a difficult position to be in. I wouldn't want to burden everyone, but in order to balance our budget, this is what we've come to. I do definitely want to look at the budget in more detail. I never had that opportunity being on the committee, but there's no reason I can. There's other areas that we need to look at, and really seriously, a lot of people brought up to my attention, what about the pool this year? And other areas in town that we could possibly cut. I'm not a finance guru, but we can certainly sit down and discuss it further, because I hope to not be here next year doing this here at all. At one time, somebody said we had a water for free. Is that true? And then they incrementally just, you know,
At one time, Milltown had its own well and storage tank that was, I think, knocked down in 1923. So it was a long time ago, or 1932 was somewhere around there.
Gotcha. So we've really come to a difficult time, and it's definitely a burden for all. It certainly is for me, just like it would be for any senior. And I think Ralph Miller has a great idea to look at another tier, and in the future, we can't do it right now, but it certainly won't drop that. I will certainly look into that. And also certainly look into the budget and see what we can do and prepare for maybe next year on certain things. I know for a fact that the William Street Tower, we have reserves, $50,000 in there. We can't touch it. It's put there for a reason. I'm not sure what other line items we've put away for. That one just keeps coming out, because I was on utility chair, and at the time, 6 years, about 7, 8 years now, it's been disconnected. It's not in use. It's just sitting there. Don't know if we're ever going to put it back. I know it's going to be $500,000 for that. So there's a lot of issues we need to discuss. We need to find other ways to do improvements with what we have, and I just wanted to let you know that's how I feel. It's been a very difficult 2 weeks trying to listen to everybody, and I know it's a very difficult decision for all.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Since the response is pretty much 100% no from the public, is there a way to address this? We've had ideas, and now we're getting ready to vote on something without having a chance to explore some of the other ideas that were given here tonight, such as the surcharge.
Well, right now we have a motion on the floor that needs to be carried. I mean, if it's if the council voted against it, it would get kicked back and for, I guess, further deliberation, etc.
Do it. Yeah, listen to the people.
Do it, George.
I think that would be the only way.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr.
A lot of good ideas were brought up tonight, and there's things I think we can look into. Nothing is going to solve the problem for this year. Mike, I ask you really very quickly, tying into North Brunswick, East Brunswick, South Brunswick, how long?
Each proposal to change where you purchase your water from is going to take probably, just negotiations could take 6 months to a year. So these aren't short-term problems. You purchase your water from New Brunswick for many, probably over 50, 60 years, I think, probably, if not longer than that. So, you know, to find another water source that has water for Milltown and then negotiate, it's probably 6 months to a year. Obviously, anything can be done quicker, but I would say that's about the general rate.
So it's one of the options that came up tonight. It's something I would consider. I would look into it. Many other things came up tonight that I would consider, but the bottom line is, in actually April 12th of 2010 to March of 2017, the water budget was raised $4.29. That's 10 years. That's less than 50 cents a year. Yet our rate went up more than that. The sewer went up, same time frame, same dates, 77 cents. That's the increase up until now. Now this has come before this council, this sitting council right now, to rectify this situation. New Brunswick rates have gone up. We know that. Their rates go up because they're charged more, whatever. We have to adjust ours to stay with it. It sounds like it's an extraordinary amount of money, and I don't want to pay it either. I'm 71 years old. Believe it or not, I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income. I don't get COLA either. I do not want to pay it. But I realize in sitting in all these meetings that we've had, it has to be done. We have to maintain what we have. The people, all you sitting out there, you deserve the best we can get for you with the money we have. I'm not building anything that we don't need. It was brought up tonight about the fire department and the public works. I don't think anybody sitting in this room can argue with me that we don't need another public works.
No, we don't.
Well, then try and go out there one time after a rain and they're working in 4 feet of water. Look at the lines on the side of the garage. How many storms they've had. Storms that have not bothered you. Did not close down the road, did not shut anything down, but that place is under 3 feet of water. Fire department. You go in there, it's falling apart. Call the fire department. I'll tell you what, let's go to Spotswood. Let's go to East Brunswick. Let's see what your insurance rates go up. More than 30%. I've checked. Think about what you're saying before you say it. We've looked at other places. We've all done that here. You have a responsible, I'm not here to argue. I'm here to make a statement and I didn't bother you. I'm saying we've looked at other answers. We've looked at many different directions. and I know what has to get done. And that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate everybody coming down tonight and voicing their opinion. I would really like, I have not been part of the utility committee the whole entire time I've been on council, so I'm not apprised of all the ins and outs of the budgeting process of that particular utility. Had I been, maybe I would have had more to add to you, for you tonight, but based on the audience comments tonight, I really think before we approve this ordinance, is it an ordinance? An ordinance?
Yes.
That we seriously take a look at doing the surcharge for X amount of time, getting the money that we need to right the ship, and then drop it back down if it's at all possible. It's something that these people want. And I think it's something that everybody on council here should really take a hard look and really, I think that's the route to go based on what everybody said, you know, and I hope I can convince everybody to vote the same way.
Who is on the utility committee? Because you just mentioned that. I don't even know. Which council members are the utility committee?
Richie?
It's myself, you, Mrs. Mayor.
No,
and I believe Dorianne,
okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Just wanted to make sure we all knew who was on the utility.
Look, if I can make a comment real quick, and then I'd like to proceed with this vote. Nothing says that the rate, this 30% increase, is going to stay. We've got a 2-year rule.
I've heard that before.
Whoa. Excuse me. You've all had your time to speak. Now it's my turn, okay? I am doing the best I can for this town. We have to make a budget whole. We haven't raised rates. Everyone's gotten away with it for 8 years. With the exception of last year and a 10% increase, we have not raised rates despite a 5% annual increase from the city of New Brunswick. I'll say that again, 5% annual increase from the city of New Brunswick. The borough has not passed that on. It's time to make it right. We need to make the budget whole. If at the end of 2018 we have a surplus of funds and we can justify lowering the fees for water and sewer and still have money set aside, for projects to improve the water quality in this town, then so be it. But unfortunately, the way things are now, we cannot.
Just one correction.
This is what it is. It's the cards we're dealt. And I hope that everyone can see that no one wants to raise rates. I'm a ratepayer just like everyone else in that room, just like all the members of council and the mayor. We need to do what has to be done in order to pay the bills. We will continue to look at this and continue to look at other options, but as of today, this is the best option we have.
No, it isn't.
Thanks.
Excuse me, please stop yelling.
Sorry to interrupt Councilman Revelinsky. I apologize. Rich, I know you're not here and it's hard for you, but just one correction that last year you were asked to take on a 10% water and sewer increase, and just to correct Councilman Revelinsky, he said that you hasn't passed on the increase. Well, we did last year, and everybody took it and paid it. And just to make that clear, that there was an increase last year, and that was the same excuse that was given, is that New Brunswick hasn't raised their rates in however many years. Just so everybody's aware, just to make the facts correct.
Well, Councilman Legatti, I did actually acknowledge that. I did say with the exception of last year, and I'll make note that we were supposed to raise $150,000 from that increase. We did, in fact, raise $150,000 from that increase. However, our force main built in the early 1900s that disposes of our sewer out to New Brunswick broke twice. We also had multiple water main breaks. That cost over $150,000. So the money's gone. This is the state.
At 10%, we raised $150,000. 20%, $300,000, not $30,000.
Please stop yelling from the back.
Yeah, okay. Apologize.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon.
Aye.
Councilman Farkas.
Absolutely not.
Councilwoman Kerber.
Aye.
Councilman Legatti.
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Councilman
No.
Legatti? Thank you. Councilwoman Mayer.
No.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 3 ayes and 3 noes.
Mr. Attorney, is this a
Listen to the people.
tie that I could break again?
This is a matter where the mayor can break a tie.
Thank you. Okay, I kind of figured that this was going to go this way, so I actually put together a explanatory statement for my vote, so you understand. Get the blanket, get the popcorn, because here it comes. For over 100 years, the City of New Brunswick has supplied potable water and sewer treatment service for a fee to the Borough of Milltown. As part of that arrangement, Milltown has created a water sewer utility that builds and maintains all the related infrastructure for water distribution and effluent collection within the borough boundary, as well as to its connection points with the New Brunswick utilities. Milltown then charges its water sewer customers on a graduated scale for their connection to and volume of use of those services. The fees collected are used to pay New Brunswick for their services, to pay the wages and benefits for workers and support staff of the Milltown water sewer utility, to pay for supplies, equipment, and a building to house those necessities, to pay engineering costs for the plans to repair, replace, maintain, and map infrastructure, and for our water and sewer operators who work to ensure clean, safe drinking water and ensure that all laws pertaining to utility operations are followed. Since it was created, Milltown's Department of Utilities budget has been planned by the Borough Council Committee Chairman of the Department of Utilities with the consent of the Council by way of the Council's adoption of the yearly municipal budget. Through the years, regardless of the political party in control of the municipal budget, the utility rates arguably have been kept as reasonably low as possible, as not to burden ratepayers. Rates were only raised when absolutely needed to satisfy financial obligations, not to hold large amounts of ratepayer funds in the borough surplus accounts. Historically, most of the quote-unquote profit realized by the utility has been given back to the ratepayers in the form of the borough utilizing these funds to absorb the rate increases from New Brunswick. The remaining funds have always been retained in a surplus account for emergencies and future needs. Since 2010, the overall cost to operate the Milltown water sewer utility has risen 71%. The amount of money charged to Milltown by New Brunswick for water sewer has nearly doubled from $670,000 to $1.25 million annually. Pardon me. Without the corresponding rate increases enacted by the Borough Council to cover the rising costs. This fact, coupled with rising costs in all aspects of doing business, has worked to put our utility in this financial situation. Now, when the City of New Brunswick, our water and sewer supplier, raised our rates, I suggested to the Council they consider filing suit against New Brunswick because, as we heard, we don't have a lot of leverage, I think the young man was saying, to force them to the bargaining table in an effort to negotiate a reasonable rate. Unfortunately, that suggestion went unheeded. Then, when the City of New Brunswick, our water sewer supplier, levied unspecified additional special charges on Milltown, I again suggested to the Council they consider filing suit against New Brunswick to force them to justify these additional special charges. Again, the suggestion went unheeded. I suggested to the Borough Council to look for a supplier of water and work for a new supplier of water and work to create a direct tie to the Middlesex County Sewerage Treatment Facility to eliminate the middleman, City of New Brunswick. Again, the suggestion went unheeded. We are currently paying capital improvement bills, that's credit card bills, for waterline replacement, waterline looping, and relining projects that were enacted in 2008, 2012, 2013, and 2016 that total probably in the millions of dollars. Okay, again, astonishingly, no corresponding rate increases were enacted by the Borough Council to cover these costs. The most amazing fact is it has taken this long for the costs to finally overtake the income. A lot of political financial juggling over the years has worked to stave off rate increases, but to whose benefit? Unfortunately, the finger pointing over which political party is responsible for this financial dilemma has begun. Truth be told, they both are. Since this problem began, the Council Utility Committee chairmen have been the following. 2011, Gary Holston, Republican. 2012, Randy Farkas, Democrat. 2013, Randy Farkas, Democrat. 2014, Randy Farkas, Democrat. 2015, Gerard Guthline, Republican. 2016, Dorianne Kerber, Republican. And in 2017, Richard Brevelinski, a Republican, seeing the negative trend, enacted the first rate increase in a rudimentary attempt to correct the shortfall. That leads us to today in 2018. Now, let me state the following. This is not a list of bad councilpersons. These are not bad people with malintent for Milltown ratepayers. These are people of both political persuasions who care about Milltown that unfortunately have fallen into the historic status quo due to the fact that they do not possess the professional skill set or clairvoyance needed to oversee, listen to this, the financial needs of 3 public utilities. As someone said earlier, we're council people. We're trying to run 3 public utilities simultaneously. Basically, those folks and everyone else who has ever sat up here, including our illustrious Mayor of Bradford, has done the best they could. As I said in the past, I strongly believe that if we choose to work together, united to serve our residents, then together we will come every obstacle. Now, if the Borough Council was interested in working together to overcome this obstacle, I would be not forced to cast a deciding ballot to this matter. As a matter of fact, Thursday, March 29th, I asked our business administrator to set up a meeting with Councilman Ligotti and Farkas to be held on April 2nd to hear what their alternative is to the water sewer rate increase and the municipal budget. Their responses were the following. Denise, thank you for the email. I will not be able to attend a meeting the mayor is requesting. I don't believe a meeting is necessary for me to attend at this time. Had I been part of the Utilities Committee over the last 3 years, I may have had more to say. Just being given the information to vote on directly before a council meeting is unfortunately how I have to base my decision, rather than having the chair of both Finance and Utilities contacting me and keeping me in the loop along the way, and that was Councilman Ligotti.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Then the following. Hi, Denise. Unfortunately, I'm not available to attend a meeting next week. The mayor should be meeting with the Utilities Committee or the Finance Committee to ascertain why the water sewer utility was mismanaged for the last 3 years. Thanks, Councilman Randy Farkas. Excuse me 1 second. Doesn't sound like people really worrying about getting a problem solved. That's only my 2 cents. Several years ago, in an attempt to sidestep the council's inability to work together, I asked the Borough Council to allow me to create, and I think Ralph was talking about this earlier, maybe someone else, a non-binding, non-partisan committee of Milltown residents, like the former highly successful electrical substation subcommittee, with utility, business, financial, and managerial expertise to review all of the current practices and make recommendations for improvements to our utility departments. Again, unfortunately, my suggestion went unheeded. Perhaps now, because of our current situation, one of these council members will follow my lead and sponsor this committee. Also, I have asked our borough attorney to draft a pass-through ordinance which essentially forces the Milltown Borough Council to raise or lower the water, sewer, or electric rates as they are changed by our supplier, or as capital debt is incurred or reduced. This will work to end the influences from both political parties and give ratepayers an honest rate. Since since 2016, there has been $280,000 in emergency repairs performed by outside contractors for our water sewer utility that could not be performed by borough employees. This is due mostly because our entire utility, electric, water, sewer departments, is staffed by only 5 men. 1 with water sewer experience, 2 electricians, and 2 newly hired trainees. Finding and employing people to work as an electrical lineman and pipe fitter for what Milltown is willing to pay has been a difficult task. Perhaps selling off the maintenance of our utilities to a functioning utility company is part of the long-range solution. Another unfortunate factor to this situation is, as of January 1, 2018, there are $182,000 in water bills that are unpaid by residents and businesses in Milltown that we have been actively pursuing to collect. Additionally, over the past year, residential water usage is down 5%, which equates to a $115,000 revenue loss. Commercial usage is down 10%, which compounds the revenue loss further. So it all comes down to this, ladies and gentlemen. The borough needs to raise $300,000 within the next 9 months to balance the water sewer budget for 2018 as it stands now, as introduced at the last council meeting. Funds will also be needed to continue much-needed improvements to our 100-year-old water sewer infrastructure system to ensure clean, rust and lead and copper-free drinking water, as well as the repair of lines, valves, mains, and the sanitary sewer system. The council can choose to ignore the problem and simply raise taxes to cover the shortfall. The council can choose to simply cut the budget to hide the problem. But I will expect them to also submit a list of employees, departments, and services they wish to cut. Not supporting this ordinance will force additional budget cuts, preventing necessary things from getting done, kicking the proverbial can yet further down the road, compounding problems exponentially. A special assessment is not the answer, as this problem will not go away with a one-time cash infusion. I noticed that the council persons who voted no to this ordinance offered no alternatives to contemplate or discuss. I wish to thank Councilman Richard Revelinsky for his honesty with our residents regarding this matter over the past 2 years and his bravery to inspire some council members to start to right the ship. I can only pray that in the future, some borough council members will choose to stand together for the good of Milltown and not grandstand alone for the good of themselves. With that being said, I vote yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question. Who was mayor the whole time all this was going on? What was your part? What was your responsibility of all this? You're the mayor. You're the chief executive of this town. It's very easy to sit in that seat and throw stones, but man up and do something.
I just did.
Yeah, you threw a bunch of council people under the bus.
My first time that thing has been given to me, I voted.
I know, you never do anything, right? You never do anything. You want to be the big guy in the middle seat, but when it comes time to vote, you don't have the guts to vote.
I just voted. How did I vote, Councilman? How did I vote, Randy?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
How did I vote?
I would like to say, as much as the mayor's speech tried to say, to try to work together and not have political parties, as everyone in this audience and everyone at home could see, he is definitely playing politics. He is definitely reprimanding certain council people for the way that they are elected here to vote. The other thing I would like to point out is that why he is, we're speaking out of turn here now because the mayor has spoken out of turn. During council comments,
did I speak out of turn, Mr.
during council comments, he did not say his speech. He waited till his vote, which I think we're only supposed to vote. He should have said his speech while council comments were there, and everyone else would have had a chance to react to his comments. If he's asked to vote, he should just vote.
They're called council comments.
Outstanding model.
Wish you were all this passionate in fixing the problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's too hard.
The vote?
4 ayes, 3 noes.
I can't wait to edit out that clip, Mr. Mayor.
Edit out which clip?
The one where I said you were an embarrassment, not you said, don't let me get started on you. You don't even know me. I know you from what I just saw. We all know you from what we just saw.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Come again.
Arrogant. Oh, I will, trust me.
I'm sure you will.
Arrogant.
Mr. Mayor, I have a point of order.
I'm sorry.
I just have a question.
I'm sorry you can't.
John, do something.
Not in the middle of the meeting. I can certainly talk to you after the meeting.
Is anyone staying around for the rest of the meeting?
Yes, a few.
You're allowed to participate.
It was 4 ayes.
There are more issues, folks.
So moved.
Can we reel this in?
Yes.
Do
Okay.
we still have the
Next
second?
on the agenda is a public hearing for ordinance number 18-1459. Will the clerk please read that ordinance by title?
An ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Milltown, more particularly Chapter 25, Water, to amend water rates and at charge for final reading.
Okay, you've heard the reading of, oh, sorry, this is a public hearing.
This is a public hearing, yes.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have anything they wish to say in regard to this ordinance?
They should know.
Tom Quitniak, 8 Nelson Drive. Just a point of order before we take this ordinance up. Can a council member vote without being present?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
They're technically.
Is that in the council law, or
that's state law.
that's state law?
Yes.
Can you give me the chapter and cite of that, please?
In the chapter and site, there are cases that support that. There are decisions.
But I just asked for the chapter and cite.
I can't give you a specific site. I can tell you it's...
Well, then how could you say it?
Sir, you asked me a question. I'm trying to provide an answer.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Then how can he say it if he's not here? And I'm a little rusty on this, but I think if somebody's not here, you have to state that, and you also have to state that he is eligible to vote and participate under statute so-and-so, site so-and-so. You just can't say, okay, he's not here, we're going to go with this.
He's allowed to participate by phone, by phone.
Yeah, but you're not stating the amendment, you're not stating the statute that covers that. So in reality, if you don't say up front that he is allowed to participate under this statute, this meeting's invalid.
I would disagree with that, sir, any more than we would need to state the authority by which any council member can vote who is present. You don't need to state the authority.
I believe you do when they're not here.
That's not correct, sir, respectfully.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Okay, I will close the public portion and ask for the council's consideration.
Move that this ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and published according to law.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilman Revelinsky, that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and published according to law. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Back a few minutes ago, you made your little diatribe. So let me respond to some of the things that you said. There's nobody here grandstanding. Okay, I said everything I had to say the last week. You called a meeting after this was already passed. Okay, on the first reading. So I told you in my email, there's been mismanagement for the last 3 years. I can't solve a problem in 2 days that took 3 years to create. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is that I told you last year that this town doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem. The spending is out of control in this town, and the people who are sitting here in this audience need to understand that. That's where this problem is. It's a spending problem. Just out of curiosity, how much money went to that project across the street out of the water and sewer utility? $115,000?
Across the street?
Yeah.
The allocated share of the 15 million?
Yeah.
2.3 million?
Out of the water and sewer?
Well, yeah, but that was the, Randy, that was the bonded, the debt service portion of it. In other words, it's going to be spread out over 20 years.
Okay, so what is it this year?
I'm sorry.
How much this year?
It was about $60,000 in interest.
60,000 in interest?
This year in interest, there's no principal payment this year.
That's right, in this year. So, and in all actuality, we haven't even started paying for that yet.
And what was the portion of the down payment?
The utility funds weren't required to provide a down payment because they were both self-liquidating. You only need a down payment, which is 5% under the local bond law, if the utilities are not self-liquidating.
So
Okay?
where did we
Both of those utilities at the end of 16 were self-liquidating, and the debt that was added to them was also self-liquidating, so there was no down payment required.
So there was no down payment required on that bond ordinance?
On the electric portion and the water portion, there was a 5% down payment on the current fund portion.
And it all came out of general capital?
Well, no, that's where it's put together.
All right.
Okay, the down payment, in effect, came from the electric fund. It was routed through the current fund as a revenue source and then reappropriated as a capital improvement
So
fund.
none of that down payment came out of water and sewer?
Correct.
No, sir.
Thank you.
What's going to be the impact next year? If it's only the interest this year, what's the principal payment going to be?
It's whatever we sell, it's, the allocated share of the water was 15%. Hold on one second. In 19, potentially, the total debt service for the project allocated to the water sewer fund is about $157,000.
On top of the 300,000 or 400,000 that we have already, correct?
No, what 300,000 or 400,000?
Well, we have quite a bit of debt service in the water fund already.
You have debt service in the water fund, but that's a result of projects from 08, 09, 12, and 13. And 16 for various repairs that the engineer could probably elaborate on. So in this year's budget, there's $60,000 of interest that's appropriated. We're on the accrual basis in the utility funds. So there's 60,000, 66,000 in the budget for interest towards the 2.3 million allocated share to the water source. That will kick up again next year.
Okay.
What's that number next year?
Could be 157,000, depending on what the final interest rate is.
Anyone else?
Yes,
Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment.
Go ahead.
First of all, this isn't political. Shame on you for making it that we don't have any remedy. We voiced our concerns last week. It's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. As far as I'm concerned, all of us up here, the most important letter behind our name is M for Milltowner. So I really don't appreciate you indicating that just because we voted no, it was political. The reason that I voted no, and I was on the Finance Committee, and I brought this up several times, was I could not in good conscience put this on the back of the citizens of Milltown. I thought of the woman that I met when I was walking door to door when I was campaigning last year, who almost cried because of the 10% increase, because she was worried how she was going to pay her bills. She was widowed, she lived alone, and a 10% was a hardship. So it's not political. To me, it's right and wrong. And I brought this up time and time again in the Finance Committee, and it's really not a Republican or a Democrat. It's people that think that Milltowners have money to burn, and the fact that you ask to pick their pocket a little more, they can take it. And I said, a lot of people can't take it, and they shouldn't have to. It's not up to us to decide how people spend their money. We should carefully manage budgets and make sure that if we can't afford something, that we cut back. We know, and the auditor has said, we have no more revenue coming in, so it's up to us to control the spending. And obviously, you can't go back and redo things, but I have said over and over in the committee, we're on the train tracks. We're coming to a cliff. Why didn't somebody, and you were here, all that while, you've been here longer than anyone sitting on this table. Why didn't somebody put on the brakes on the train before it went off the cliff, which it's doing tonight? So shame on you for making this a political statement. It's right and wrong.
Political statement.
That's a
They're
lie.
made.
That's a lie.
That's not
a lie.
true.
That is a total lie.
Ask anybody here, they can see it. It's as plain as the nose on your face.
If the problem is bipartisan, how is it political?
It's right and wrong. It's bipartisan.
Then it's not political.
Yes, you made it political by calling out Mr. Ligotti, Mr. Farkas, and me, who happen to have run on the Democratic ticket, but that does not matter up here. It's what's right and what's wrong for the citizens of Milltown. Shame on you.
Well, thank you.
What's right and what's wrong here, folks, is plain and simple getting the budget straight. Now, in 2010, we increased it, and then the following year, we dropped it down. Someone took the bullet for that, someone took the fall for increasing it, and then we dropped it down in hopes that this would steady the ship. Maybe a good decision, maybe a bad decision. At this time, this is the cards we're dealt, and we've got to move forward with it. This isn't political, and I don't care who said what or who's at fault. It doesn't matter.
I agree with you, Councilman.
We are where we are today, and we need to move forward.
I agree with you,
And,
Councilman
I feel bad
Revelinsky.
for the residents too, and I want to try and drop it down. But unfortunately, at this time, we can't. Unless you want to go and submit a budget that shows us with even more of a deficit. And you know what? That'll just compound things for next year. And next year we'll be looking at a 45% increase because now we've got 3 years of $150,000 to make up instead of the 2.
Councilman
Make a decision now, let's move on, and we'll fix it again next year, and we'll continue to look at ways to improve our budget.
Councilman Revelinsky, I agree with you. However, if the mayor hadn't given his speech and just voted aye, I wouldn't have had to say anything.
Now, I think that Councilman Revelinsky is in a very hard position. He wants to right the ship. He wants to do the right thing for Milltown. I get it. I really have a heartfelt feeling for Councilman Revelinsky, who has to stand behind this and his recommendation. I just have to let everybody know, I keep seeing fixed incomes, senior citizens. Maybe we could have come up with something different. Freezing something, I don't know if that would have been good. Just increasing the consumption rates rather than the fixed rates maybe would have helped a little bit more. Maybe it would have hurt in the long run. These are all variables that I was never made aware of until people tonight people over the last week have said to me. And please understand that Councilman Revelinsky, every council person up here is trying to do the right thing for Milltown. I really do understand your point of view, understand that we have hard decisions to make, and we're going to make them. Now, Councilman Revelinsky might not agree with my decision, but I think in the long run, I respect his decision, and he respects my decision. We might not have agreed this time. Unfortunately, I don't think the mayor is on the same page as everybody else.
Well, thank you for speaking for me, Nick.
You're welcome.
Evidently, I'm not, because it only seems that I was the only one trying to do something.
Okay.
No, that's mature, Nick. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
No.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Ligotti?
No.
Councilwoman Mayer?
No.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 3 ayes and 3 noes.
Yes, you may be.
I vote aye.
Yay.
We have 4 ayes and 3 noes.
Before going on, the gentleman who raised the question to me earlier, I believe you said your name is Mr. Quitniak?
Yes.
Just to further elaborate, you asked a good question. Under the Open Public Meetings Act, so the statute is NJSA 10:4-7. I just looked at it while there was discussion going on. That defines a public meeting as any gathering, whether corporeal, meaning present, or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all the members of the public body. So under the Open Public Meetings Act, and I've now cited the statute for you, it is permitted to have somebody participate by electronic communication.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have audience comments and questions on resolutions and bills and claims, listed on the agenda. If you have any comments or questions, please use the microphone. Center of the room, give your name and address for the record when recognized. Remember, comments and questions are limited to resolutions and bills and claims on the agenda. With that, I will open audience comments.
Carol Jagu, 16 Janet Court. As I said before, I haven't been here in a while. I want to know about the list of bills and claims that used to come with our agenda. How can you expect anybody to go over the list if it's not here? Why is it not here?
The borough had adopted a paperless plan, so if anybody would like the bills and claims, all they have to do is ask and I would provide it to them. But since we did go paperless a few years ago, it's not something we provide on the paper. It's something that you would ask us for and we would provide to you.
So when would that be available?
As soon as I put out the agenda, if you wanted to see the bills and claims, our agenda is usually on the website on Friday. If you email me, I will email them right back. Or
I do not have a computer, and there's a lot of other people in town, especially older people, who do not have computer either. So we used to come down, and on the agenda that was here, which is not that many sheets, we used to have a list of bills and claims. And then we could review them.
If you would like them, all you have to do is ask. But again, since we went paperless, it's not something that we provide at the meeting because there's a paperless policy. Again, if you would like them, all you have to do is ask and we would provide them to you.
And when will they be available?
Again, all you have to do is ask. As soon as you request them, we would provide them as soon as we're in the office.
So in other words...
So if you came to me, if the agenda is posted on, when we post the agenda, which is on by Friday, then you can come to the office and we would even give it to you if you don't have a computer, or you're more than welcome to come in on Monday or any day thereafter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gabriella?
Yes.
As a councilman that lives down the street from Mrs. Jagu, can I request it and print it out at home for her and just, she can pick it up at my house, or?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have them in Dropbox too, so they're always part of your council packet, is that? So if you have anyone print it at home, that's more than fine, or again, however you'd like to, yeah.
Can we simply have additional copies made for those residents that take the time out and come down to Borough Hall? I remember before I was on council, they used to be available for us.
Right, I understand that. Again, the Borough Council had adopted a paperless policy, and that's why we don't print them anymore, because
What's her face?
it would be a lot, and they were never taken. And that was why the council had adopted a paperless policy, which is what we follow.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close bills and claims. Next on the, sorry about that, was comments and questions. Next on the agenda is bills and claims. Will the clerk please read Resolution 18-103 by title?
Authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of, I double things, in the total amount of $2,560,547.94.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
We move that this resolution be adopted.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilman Revelinsky, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber, that the resolution is adopted. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Ligotti?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
So moved. Okay, next we move to the reports of standing committees and introductions. A consent resolution has been prepared to cover the 13 resolutions listed on the agenda. If any member of the council wants any of the resolutions acted upon individually, please give me the resolution number and it will be pulled from the consent resolution.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, oh.
Wow.
I'd like 18117 pulled.
Okay. Any others?
Yes, 18105.
I didn't hear what number was it.
105.
105.
Any others?
18110, 18116.
16.
Okay, will the clerk please read the consent resolution accepting for numbers 18105, 110, 116, and 117?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meeting, and whereas the Borough Clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the Borough Clerk be approved without the necessity of having the resolutions read by the Borough Clerk.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
So moved. Will the clerk please read Resolution 18-105 by title, please?
Authorizing certain personnel actions, recreation, SAC, and pool.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilman Farkas, that the resolution is adopted. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering, now that we've hired the staff, what's the progress on the management, since there is no pool management? We received that notification last week, and I know there was one company looked at, but how, you know, this is like another situation where we've got 2 months to figure this out. If, you know, into hiring people and reviewing management companies. So my question is, are we on top of this, or is this going to be done in a quick situation, or are we considering everything, all facets of this company that we're coming in to manage the pool?
Well, I would say that you're not on top of it, because the pool is classified as a park, and you're in charge of parks. So you would have that answer.
No. It's part of recreation. It's part of recreation.
No.
Don't pass it off.
Pool is the park.
Okay.
Right, so we maintain it.
But the pool is the park.
Right. The Department of Public Works maintains that. However, the Recreation Department hires all the personnel, maintains it, gets the opening, closing of the pool, making sure that she coordinates with the DPW to get the chemicals necessary for the pool. So it's a dual coordination here with both departments. And as far as I know, there hasn't been many recreation committee meetings. And that's why we have an advisory committee meeting.
Excuse me, Denise?
So,
can
Yes,
you
Mr.
please
Mayor?
inquire about that tomorrow, please?
About what's happening? I know the last time I spoke with the Recreation Director, which was either this morning or Friday, that she was waiting to hear back from them. I will touch base with her and see if there's any update.
Thank you.
And I will send an email out to the full mayor and council.
Any other discussion?
Well, there was a letter sent by the
Recreation Advisory Committee, specifically the ordinance that creates that, specifically indicate that it's to discuss portions of the pool. And furthermore, I remember discussions last year in the Recreation Advisory Committee meetings in which we discussed the pool finances. Nothing's been done. So why at the Department of Public Works would we receive emails from the Director of Recreation stating that we've got certain issues here with state mandates and we no longer have people that are willing to take on the role of supervisory positions at the pool, if that's supposed to be coming out of DPW?
Because you took parks away from me and you gave it to Councilwoman Kerber. So she has parks, so that would make her responsible. Secondly, there's a pool advisory committee, which I told you multiple times in recreation advisory committee meetings that only recreation can be discussed in those meetings, because there's a pool advisory committee.
Let's take a look at those ordinances as well, and we'll set the record straight once and for all, because it was the opposite way last year.
Okay, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Sorry. Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer? Sorry.
I will recuse because there's a mayor child on that list.
Councilman Revelinsky?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, that's 4 ayes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
So moved. Will the clerk please read Resolution 18-110 by title, please?
A resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, certification of compliance with the United States Equal Opportunity Employment Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber, that the resolution is adopted. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could just get some clarification on this.
Local finance notice 2017-27 came out, and we are mandated for council to review this and sign off. In order to submit the budget, the CFO must certify that the governing body's executed certification is on file and available for inspection.
And that's,
I can provide this to council if they should. So
that's the basis.
Yes, see, we couldn't see that. No, you wouldn't probably see this. This is mine that comes emailed to me as the CFO. But I will gladly scan this in an email to all of you tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. Certainly.
Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon.
Aye.
Councilman Farkas.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber.
Aye.
Councilman Legati.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer.
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, that's 6 ayes.
So moved. Will the clerk please read Resolution 18-116 by title, please?
Resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown appointing members to the Milltown Revitalization Committee.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
I second.
I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber, that the resolution is adopted. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr.
Hold on, Councilman Revelinsky.
Holding.
Councilman Legati has the floor.
Sorry. I have some questions on this because last year there was no revitalization committee. We took their money and used it for other Milltown needs within the town. And you have people on here, if there was no revitalization committee last year and we emptied their funds, how are there still members from backdated 2017?
The reason that we've never received actual resignations from any but one member of the Revitalization Committee. However, there were no meetings of record, no meetings to attend, no activity on the club. However, because the record stands that they were appointed, I can't remove them from a committee without a resignation. So the members that are still on there are still considered members until they actually resign. With that being said, I did receive 2 new citizen leadership applications and an email from Councilwoman Kerber that there was interest in moving forward on the Revitalization Committee. I did advise Councilwoman Kerber that those members, they're still required a quorum, so at this time we're adding members to it, as well as Councilwoman Kerber asked me the liaison to it, but I cannot remove other members or change the membership requirements of such committee based on the ordinance. But that's
Okay, first I think it's great that you got 2 more people that are interested. I think that's wonderful.
do that part of it.
And my second question here is, Denise, we took their money last year. Did we give them money this year?
No, and I really, the way you say we took their money.
We used their money. I'm sorry, we used their money.
The money was used, I believe Councilwoman Kerber can answer what the money was used for. It wasn't.
Yes, I
know that.
wasn't being facetious. We used their money.
Okay, and the dollar amount, I believe, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500.
Yeah, it wasn't. I understand.
No, there is. I don't have the budget here with me, but there is no budgeted line item
for them.
Right, because generally what happens is whatever amount of money they bring in the prior year becomes their appropriation and their revenue for the next year, kind of like how South operates.
Just so council is aware, I think we have 2 people. We have Dorianne. I think I'm going to overstep my boundaries here and say she's actively trying to get people. Once we get a quorum, could we make sure that they get a line budgeted item for the next?
Well, what will happen is they will, once they start bringing in donations or things of that nature, that amount of money comes in and that becomes their expenditure line item for the following year. So until they start getting...
They are also listed in our ordinance as an advisory committee, so by technicality, any requisition would actually have to come through council.
Listen,
So it would ultimately...
They're all volunteers, we should help them any way we can. They're just
Right.
trying to improve Milltown.
Yeah.
That was my questions, I'm sorry. Sorry, Rich.
Not a problem. No, I was just going to ask the same thing, Nick, so I'm glad we're on the same page.
Okay.
Councilman Ligotti, my apologies.
No worries.
Anyone else?
So hopefully then, Councilwoman, you're going to start meeting soon?
Yes,
Because
yes,
I
we
know
are.
there's a few people that are very, into it. And, I know that I've heard from a lot of residents that they really hope that we can revitalize Main Street, the downtown. A lot of people have really good ideas, so I hope you'll reach out to as many people as you can.
Absolutely, and it also tie into the Street Smart campaign, Complete Streets, that we're working on as well. So that should tie in and support that committee as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Ligotti?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
So moved. Will the clerk please read Resolution 18-117 by title, please?
Authorizing certain personnel actions, Special Projects Coordinator.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
I'll second it.
Yay, I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilman Revelinsky, that this resolution is adopted. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that this resolution be tabled so that the council can discuss, number one, the effective date, and number two, to ensure that we have actually done our due diligence in finding the best suited person for this department.
Okay, I think we had a motion on the floor to adopt, and then we had one for...
Superseding.
Table.
Motion to table, superseding. And just for reference for the council, anytime there is a motion to table, that cuts off discussion. If there's a motion and a second, then an immediate vote is taken, and depending on that vote, you then determine whether
Okay,
to proceed
I will
forward.
accept, okay, we have a motion to table, and a second?
Is there a second? Well, there's been a motion
Second?
made.
There was a motion made by Councilman Revelinsky to table, I believe, and a second from Council President Dixon. Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
No.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye, to table it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to table. Aye. Councilman Ligotti?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Was that an aye?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Again.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that's 5 ayes, 1 no.
So moved. Okay, next we hear from the Department of Finance, Administration, and Planning, chaired by Council President Ronald Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder, the public hearing of the municipal budget, the adoption is scheduled for the April 23rd, 2018 meeting. Bringing everyone up to date, as you've heard earlier this evening, water and sewer. This is just letting everyone know that since January 1st of 2017 to April 5th, 2018, water and sewer owed to the borough is $64,950.97. Of that, 16 people are over $1,000. One person, $7,527.84. And I've been told that we cannot shut off water because of the system that we have, the piping and everything else. So that, I know letters have been sent out. I know they're doing everything they can to collect. But keep in mind, 16 people over one person, $7,000. It drops what is owed in this town quite a bit. The electric total electric owed is $80,196.99. Same time frame, January 1st of 17 to 4/5 of 18. Of that amount of money, 20 people are owing over $1,000 to the electric. That's more than 1 month's bill. Several of them are in the $2,000 range, and we are moving ahead with shutting those electric services off that we can do now that it is, believe it or not, it is springtime, even though snow is scheduled for tomorrow.
Is that it?
That's it, sir.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Department of Public Safety, chaired by Councilman Nicholas Lagatti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Milltown Fire Department month-end report for March 2018. Total number of fire calls, 44. Total number of training details, 2. Total number of work details, 4. Total number of meeting details, 2. Total number of miscellaneous details, 7. Total incidents for the month, 59. The Milltown Fire Department is always looking for new members. Please stop by either firehouse on Monday night or go to our website, milltownfire.org, for details. The Milltown Fire Department participated in its annual Read Across America as well as March Madness at Parkview School. The members of the fire department were on standby for the nor'easters this month, answering over 35 calls for wires down and trees blocking the road, helping out the Public Works and Utilities Department. And a special thanks to the Milltown Rescue Squad for supplying a crew to help us during the storm. Our annual flower sale was a huge success. Thank you for all that have participated. We currently have 4 anticipated outstanding waiting members for return. Several more prospects members have inquired for membership. Vehicle maintenance, engine 62 and 63 both had their annual preventive maintenance. Engine 72 and L73 will be done in April. Annual hose and pump testing have been scheduled for August. Okay. The Milltown Police Department monthly report. Between March 6, 2018 and April 3, 2018, police have answered 1,420 calls for service. This number includes but not limited to 911 and medical calls, traffic incidents, community outreach, walk-in reports, and public contacts. Police conducted a total of 519 motor vehicle stops, which included special traffic details including cell phone, crosswalk, and seatbelt violations. 65 radar and multiple traffic calming details were conducted in various locations during this time period. Police responded to 12 motor vehicle accidents and made 30 arrests, which include theft, drugs, DWI, and warrant arrest. The Milltown Police encourage residents to remain vigilant in calling and reporting any suspicious activity and traffic concerns to the Milltown Police Department at 732-828-1100. The Milltown Police Department officers continue to maintain and mandate training requirements and will continue to train and practice at the highest standards of law enforcement. Police will continue strict enforcement of traffic laws, including speeding, cell phone use, and pedestrians in crosswalks. Police would like to remind motorists, with the warming weather comes more pedestrians. Please drive safely. The Milltown Police Department is currently accepting applications for part-time public safety telecommunicators and crossing guards. Information is available through the police department and is posted within Borough Hall. Have a happy and safe spring, Chief Kennelly. I did also attend last Friday. Friday was the cigar night. It was a very nice event, although my wife made me take my clothes off in the garage when I got home because I smelled like the smoke. They raised some money for the police and the PBA, and it was a very nice event. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Department of Utilities, chaired by Councilman Richard Revelinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize to everyone at home who might have some difficulty in hearing this, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. But for the month of January, the Utility Department had the following work: 53 daily station checks, 31 substation checks, 69 utility markouts. Water samples. Disinfectant residual testing was performed on March 7th, March 14th, and March 21st. All testing was found to be within acceptable parameters. And then we also put bottles out for the lead and copper sampling as well. and we actually had a couple of residents decline to participate in that. So, for tree work, dead and nuisance branches were removed in numerous areas throughout the borough. Snowstorms caused many delays in cleanup work to remove broken and dangling branches. Thank you to the residents of Milltown for notifying the utility department of hanging branches and for their patience. The electrical utility. 6 streetlights were repaired, various electric meters were replaced, numerous snowstorms caused, again, trees to break. Thank you for your patience. Overhead wiring was affected in several areas. Conductors needed retensioning. The water department. Numerous broken water meters were replaced throughout the borough. Curb stops were located for various customers. Monthly generator inspections were performed by the department at the Church Street and Elkins Lane pumping stations. Monthly water tower inspection was performed. A water boost pump was removed at Elkins Lane to have the seals and bearings replaced, and the pump was put back in service on April 4th. For the sewer department, Church Street Pump Station had a 100 horsepower pump down to a problem with the, we'll call it a speed control for folks who aren't familiar with a VFD. Troubleshooting was done in-house to find the problem and get the pump back in service. Planning is underway to replace the aging control system for the duplex pumps at the Riva Avenue Pump Station. We continue to find a way to fund this project as well to prevent sewer backups in the future. Several sections of the sewer were professionally cleaned as part of an ongoing maintenance program of the sewer system. Metering. As always, the utility department works hand in hand with the utility billing department to ensure accurate utility charges. We troubleshoot faulty meters and work very hard to resolve any billing issues that occur. On an additional note, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to let the residents know that we actually had a couple residents in town replace their meters recently. They were concerned with their readings being high. They thought that they were unjustified and reading too high. After testing, the meters were determined to be recording low, approximately 20%, which means 20% of unbilled water. So when we consider things like how much we're billing for residents, are we accounting for everything, consider 20% for any home with a meter over 20 years old that is not getting billed for. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Department of Public Works and Recycling, chaired by Councilwoman Dorianne Kerber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The DPW report for April 9th is as follows. Along with all regularly scheduled curbside collections, a new window was installed in the Senior Center Director's office. Nice and comfortable in there. The driver was provided for senior shopping. Pothole repairs are ongoing. The Borough Park bathrooms have had the walls and floors all painted. The gate at Field 1 has been repaired. Street sign repair is ongoing. 4 down trees have been removed at Borough Park. 2 down trees on Fire Road have been removed. Brush piles have been removed at the Schwendrum cabin and various dead trees were removed. The batting cage has been repaired at the Major League Field. Infield mix has been added to Michelin Field and all fields are being worked on in preparation for opening day. A catch basin lid was repaired at Joffrey and Albert, salted and plowed on March 21st due to the snow. This week is concrete collection. Please call extension 187 to schedule your pickup. Grass collection is only accepted if you put them in cans. No plastic bags. This is going to start on Monday, April 16th. So if you put them in bags, they're just going to sit there. Please check Channel 15, milltownandjersey.org for further updates. We do have a central garage report for this evening. We serviced police cars, lawnmowers, batteries, and fuel tank on truck 20 for code enforcement. We serviced the garbage truck 90. We replaced alternator belt on truck 93, replaced coolant expansion tank and fuel filters on truck 91, replaced wiper motor, truck 92, replaced hydraulic hoses for front bucket on case loader, replaced complete exhaust system and fuel lines for back motor on sweeper. Replaced exhaust system on truck 11, repaired leaking hydraulic pump truck number 95, replaced alternator and batteries as well as repaired shorted wiring for alternator on truck 13. Replace starter and positive battery cable truck number 14, and replace alternator and battery truck on 17. On March 27th, went to New Brunswick for the Transportation Coordinating Committee. I'll be happy to tell you that for 2018, we approved all roadway jobs. I believe the culvert for East Brunswick was approved in that. Each year, even though they have a capital plan, the county, from 2010 to 2018, each year, this particular committee approves all the projects as one thing. So that was approved. So we should be hearing something soon. I'll be at the next meeting later this month to give you an update, particularly on the culvert, which is going to affect East Brunswick coming into Milltown. That's supposed to be closed off for 6 months, and I'll make sure I try to have an update maybe on the 23rd, if not the first week in May, the first meeting in May. In addition, we had a meeting regarding the April 30th deadline for purchasing of a bus. Instead of a bus, we are going to be purchasing 2 vans instead. One will be equipped with capability for wheelchair access, and the other one is going to be just a straight van. And we're working on those quotes and finalizing everything. And that's going to be for the Office on Aging. So that will be happening soon. In addition, the Milltown Public Library, I took a picture of it, so bear with me. I don't mean to be rude.
Well, hang on one second. Just so nobody gets excited that we're buying 2 buses, could you explain, after raising rates, you don't want to make it sound like we're buying 2 buses? Could you?
Okay. The 2 buses are from the CDBG grant, and this grant we haven't used, but for a number of years. And so what we're doing is allocating those funds, or we're going to lose them from the county, which I don't blame them, because a lot of people in the state have not been utilizing the grant funding that they've received. They've been banking it, and now at least we have a use for it. It wouldn't be enough time to purchase a bus, so we're going to purchase 2 vans. I'm also going to look into, once, in the next couple of weeks, to find out the due date. The DOT does have a grant, which for Office on Aging, what they do is you apply for the grant, and it does take a number of years. Some people it's 2 years, some people it's longer for a bus, but we'll have to review that and discuss that further with the seniors and finance and go from there if we decide to do that. Rutgers Day is on Saturday, April 28th. That's coming up shortly. And in addition, at the public library, they do have homework helpers. It's free tutoring in any subject at the Milltown Library. It's on Mondays and Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m. and Saturdays from 1 to 2. They have a coordination with Joseph Harold. It's josephharold21@gmail.com. He coordinates your subjects that you may need assistance with. So please be sure to call the library for additional information or reach out to him. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Department of Environmental, Health, and Social Services, chaired by Councilwoman Trina Mayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the council for passing the resolution supporting the submission of the ANJEC Open Space Stewardship Grant for Environmental Commissions. I was unable to attend last week's meeting, but I do have some notes. The main topic of conversation was the Schwendeman property. There's discussing the current efforts by the Boy Scouts, which were removal of bamboo, cleaned up branches, they replaced a fence. There's an Eagle Scout project going on as far as the pond. They discussed removing debris, dredging with a rowboat, adding a fountain to aerate the water, bringing Rutgers in for guidance on what's best there. Also discussed the wildlife and if the fish should be stocked in there, moving flowers, moving some other stuff, and talked about future Boy Scout related projects over time. Also, there will be a Public Works meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, Dorian, this week with Ralph to discuss, because there's several other projects inside, whether it's going to be ADA compliant, things that are going to go on inside that the Parks Department will, or the DPW will need to take a look at.
That's correct. This is Thursday.
Right. Thursday. I couldn't. Okay.
Yeah.
At the 12th, and I will attend that as well. At our next meeting, Mr. McClellan will come in to discuss steep slopes because there hasn't been a planning board or zoning board meeting, but we have issues to discuss with him regarding the steep slopes. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Department of Recreation, chaired by Councilman Randy Farkas.
Along with daily operations of deposits, SAC billing, SAC registration forms, purchasing requests, as well as scheduling and interviewing new seasonal staff for the summer, Recreation SAC Department has the following report. Excuse me. Summer SAC packets are now available online and at the Recreation SAC office. Summer SAC will begin on Monday, July 2nd through August 24th. As a courtesy, we have emailed the packet to all present school year SAC parents, guardians. Please note that the registration deadline is May 18th. If your current SAC account or any past fees are due, your child will be put on a waiting list for summer SAC until all accounts are brought current. In an effort to make SAC more convenient for working parents, we have implemented a new start time for AM SAC, which is 7 a.m. We ask that you do not drop your children off prior to the 7 a.m. start time. Albert Avenue Summer Recreation registration forms are now out. They are available online and will be email blasted through the schools as well. If your child is interested in CIT, Counselor in Training, please use the registration form to sign them up. Camp is set to begin on July 9th through August 17th, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Registration is ongoing for spring tennis, which begins on Tuesday, April 17th at Purdon Avenue Tennis Courts. Fundamental Forest T-Ball is set to start on Saturday, May 5th. Registration is still ongoing for all 4-year-old boys and girls interested in T-Ball. Spring soccer is set to begin this Saturday, April 14th. Coaches will reach out to their teams. Please be patient. There are a few spots left for spring yoga, which has begun tonight, April 9th. If your child has not been called for an interview for summer employment, please be patient. We are very limited on office staff. There is still room on the cruise to Alaska, June 7th through the 15th, 2018. If you are interested, please contact Recreation for all details. We have tickets for both the MLB games, Yankees vs. Tampa Bay, which is the Old Timers Day, Sunday, June 17th, and Mets versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, Sunday, June 24th. Seats for both games are field level, third baseline. Great idea for Father's Day and graduation gifts. The deadline for both baseball games has been extended to April 13th. Please call the Recreation Department if you would like to reserve your seat. The Recreation Committee will meet on Wednesday, April 18th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at Borough Hall. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is introduction of ordinances. Tonight we have two. Will the clerk please read ordinance number 18-1460 by title?
An ordinance fixing the salary and wages for various positions of the Borough of Milltown and providing the manner of payment thereof for the year 2018.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this ordinance. What is your pleasure?
Move that this ordinance be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be held at our next regular council meeting on April 23rd at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Council President Dixon, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber, that the ordinance be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be held at our next regularly scheduled meeting, April 23rd, 2018, 7 p.m., Borough Hall. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Section 2, all employees of the Borough of Milltown shall be paid on Friday of every other week. Can I ask what we do currently?
That is exactly what we do. It's just because it's you're putting through a salary ordinance, so because of that, you have to confirm when the payment is. That's just part of the general salary ordinance.
Glad I asked that question.
And was Section 3 always in there, too?
Section 3, yes.
That's part of the regular salary ordinance also. Special nature beyond the regular routine business?
That's been in every salary ordinance adopted.
That's just standard language.
And then I got Section 5.
Okay.
Gabriella,
What did I do wrong?
April
What name?
5.
Oh, you got introduced April 5th. That's wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Put in those dates. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a question. Is there any way to amend the part-time indication so that it's clearly identified as a position that would not fall under our contract that, as it currently stands for union employees, and what designates a part-time?
I'm sorry, Rich, you were a little muffled there. Would you mind repeating that? I didn't
No, I got it.
Sorry, you know what? We can discuss it over the next 2 weeks. I just have something in the back of my mind from a previous closed session. So, no
clarification was
comment.
that the part-time CFO position does not fall under the union contract, but it's a department head position, so that position is not union.
Even as a part-time, though?
No, supervisors are not in the contract.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call roll?
Council President Dixon.
Aye.
Councilman Farkas.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber.
Aye.
Councilman Legati.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer.
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
So moved. Okay, will the clerk please read ordinance number 18-1461 by title, please?
An ordinance of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 11 of the Borough Code of the Borough of Milltown entitled Establishment of the Police Department to supplement with Chapter 11, Section 24, Operation Blue Angel.
Okay, you've heard the reading of this ordinance. What is your pleasure?
I move that this ordinance be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing be held at our next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, April 23rd
Yes.
I second.
at 7 p.m. in
Oh, sorry.
council chambers.
I have a motion by Councilman... I have a motion by Councilman Legati, seconded by Councilwoman Kerber, that the ordinance be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be held at our next regularly scheduled council meeting, April 23rd, Monday, 2018, 7 p.m. at Borough Hall. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, sir. I defer to the council president.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, Mr. Starzinski's here today. I'd like him to assist us in, when this passes, getting the word out to all the seniors. I think this is a great program. And for those of you who do not understand it or know what it's about, Operation Blue Angel allows a senior come into the police department, sign a release that the police department can enter their home at any time for a welfare check, and the police department provides them with a lockbox that's stationed outside their home that only the police have access to. So if somebody wants to... That lockbox right there.
It's a fox watching the hen house.
I just think it's a great program. It gives the police the opportunity to check on seniors, and anybody can call in. But they have to sign a disclosure, allowing them at any given time to just walk in and, make sure they're okay if they get those kind of calls.
Eric was there with the program and told them about it.
Just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. That's what it is. I think it's a great program. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I contacted the chief of police today, earlier this morning, asked him if he would supply us with a sample lockbox, which were at no cost to the borough, donated by Remax Realty in Milltown and Home Depot. So there's not even a cost for this. There are, Mr. Skarzinski, there are requirements in that form letter. He assured me that our borough attorney has looked through that paperwork, and he's approved that paperwork as well. So there are certain requirements that are required. Maybe if you want to get together with the chief of police coming up soon, he'll give you the requirements and things
I
like
have
that.
most of that information already. I appreciate you, and I think it's a wonderful program, and I want to thank anybody connected to this. It's going to be a great asset and great comfort for our seniors.
No problem. That was it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon.
Aye.
Councilman Farkas.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber.
Aye.
Councilman Legati.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer.
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
So moved. Okay, is there any old business to come before the council this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to let you know the Street Smart campaign is going to be tomorrow night, 6 p.m. We're going to be holding it at the United Methodist Church because our concentration in 2 areas of town, combining outreach and education with vehicular traffic, bicyclists, now that spring is coming, and pedestrians or runners at the intersections of Church and Main as well as Ford and Main. However, I want this to be, townwide eventually. We need to concentrate on those two areas so we're not overburdened, and then work our way around town and write up a program, a plan, and hopefully I will get some people on council to support me and join in, because I think it's a worthwhile campaign. We do have assistance from the New Jersey TPA, as well as Keep Middlesex Moving, KMM, and they'll be helping us along the way. So soon you'll be seeing, not only at bars, they have coasters to, for education outreach, plus restaurants will be having tent cards. Also there's coffee distributors in town that will have the coffee sleeves, and we'll have some lawn signs as well, just to keep everybody in the know, and we'll get updates as we have the meetings. This will be a pre-campaign meeting to get volunteers to assist with the assessment. Keep Middlesex Moving can't stay here all day. They need more volunteers to assist us. And then after we're done in May, we'll come up with a kickoff meeting that will include everybody, anyone around this area or from another town to participate, so that they can learn about what this campaign's all about and take it to their town. That's it.
Thank you. Any other old business?
Yes. Last week we got a memorandum from the Borough Clerk. I'd just like to read it. And it says, per the Mayor's request, I have reviewed the documents regarding the milling, paving, resurfacing, and restriping of Milltown roads. The initial agreement was to be considered in October 2017 and was subsequently removed from the agenda by the request of the county. On February 16, 2018, an email was sent to Councilman Farkas from the county regarding the process to proceed with the agreement between the county and Milltown. The contract documents maintain the same language, however, the estimated costs were as follows. The estimated cost in October 2017 was $96,687. Estimated cost February 2018, $88,229, for a savings of $10,000. A resolution was passed on March 12, 2018, Borough Council meeting authorizing the execution of the contract with the county. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that.
That's very good. Thank you. Any other old business?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Oh, go ahead.
I just was going to mention that the health walk, Councilwoman Kerber probably forgot about it. Yeah. It's April 21st. It starts at the American Legion at 9 or 10?
Well, yeah, 9 registration.
9 registration. 9. We will be working together there, so please come over and see us.
And we have people signing up, of course, so we'll have vendors as well as the St. Peter's University Hospital for free screenings for blood pressure and blood sugar. And we will have maybe a celebrity or two there other than elected officials. Freeholder Nara has stated she will be attending, and we do have a trainer that'll get us all pumped up and ready to go for the walk. It's not that far of a walk, so come out and support it. If you can't walk, at least come out and check out the vendors and get some free screenings done. Plus, there's giveaways, I'm sure. And if you do walk, we're getting quite a few door prizes. We don't have ribbons to give you or trophies, but we do have door prizes from local businesses, including Katie's Pet Depot, Acme, and a few others. Milltown Ice Cream Depot. Thank you.
Any other old business?
Thank you, Doreen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just want to let the rest of the council and residents know that this Thursday we'll be having a discussion with our licensed operator, our borough attorney, and I believe our engineer as well, along with Mr. Eckert in the utility department, to discuss the ongoing situation of the lead and copper sampling and determine the best approach to remedying the situation and appeasing the DEP's requirements. Additionally, I'd like to indicate that we did meet about a month ago in regards to demolition of the old substation and possibly putting those funds or costs thereof into the existing bonds that we have for the electric substation and financing through the infrastructure trust fund, as it would minimally increase debt service to that. And at this point, I'd just like to ask Mr. McClellan if he's gotten anywhere with that or any sort of budgetary analysis or further correspondence with the contractor from the new substation in regards to cost or pricing.
Councilman Revelinsky, we are working with your in-house electric utility to determine the work that they can do in order to save the borough the cost of having the contractor do it. We should have something by the end of next week with regard to what the town can do, and then obviously the price that the contractor will give us.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other old business? Seeing none, I'll close old business. New business. Is there any new business to come before the council this evening? Seeing none.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I was waiting to see if anyone else would raise their hand.
That was awfully gallant. Thank you.
Seeing none, let me interject. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put something on the ordinance for the next meeting, and perhaps open up council discussions regarding the same. We've prepared for, in the 2018 budget, $18,000 for the Recreation Department to fill a part-time position that has been vacant since 2000 and I believe early 2017. This would be a part-time position in order to assist the Recreation Department with all of the various needs as stated that in the email that the Director of Recreation had sent out to the rest of council. I believe, again, the amount is $18,000 that is already budgeted in the fund. If we're not going to fill this, we need to say so we can drop down the budget accordingly. So I think they're in need of it. I think our Recreation Director has made her case clear. And given that this was a position that was previously filled, I think it's time to refill the position. So, open that up for discussion.
I think it's just for council to say, yes, we can go out and advertise for this position. If there's no ordinance or anything, it's in the salary ordinance already, and it's just a matter of okay.
Of course, you desperately.
Very good. Can we get a motion to go out and advertise for this position?
You don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion, as long as you know, I guess, yeah?
I guess consensus.
Consensus?
Yeah. It's not a motion, so you're not, it's a part-time position, it would just be notification that it's budgeted and to allow for it to go forward.
Okay.
I wouldn't put a motion on the table for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other new business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one more thing, as you indicated earlier, and I had discussed previously, I would like to propose that we amend the water and sewer ordinances moving forward, that any increase in fees charged to the borough be automatically passed on to the residents in the same percentage and not require a vote of council to approve.
Well,
they should keep politics out of things in the future.
I think Mr. Bruder's working on that pass-through ordinance.
Very good.
That is correct.
That is correct. Thank you. Audience, sorry, any other new business, Rich?
No, with that I have nothing further. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. You sure?
Let me check. Yep, pretty sure.
All right. Audience comments. Mr. Einbinder, we'll start with you.
Good evening, Russ Einbinder, 220B South Main Street. Hearing all these things, I wish other people had stayed to hear some of the good things that go on in town, which I'm about to mention again. A couple of things. You already spoke about one with the health walk and everything else. But I put a lot of things on Channel 15. Unfortunately, not everybody gets it. One of the things we're trying to do in the Chamber of Commerce is we're rebuilding our website, which has been pathetic lately, and combining it. We're going to try and make it an information portal for a lot of people in town. I think that's one of the services a lot of the businesses want to do is they don't know what's going on because they don't have the TV stations in their businesses, and people aren't seeing it. So we're going to try and make it a portal for a lot of information that people can see updated constantly. Of course, we have our website now that Joe does a great job with, and we're getting a new one built. But these are the type of things that people don't necessarily pay attention to. For instance, I'm not going to rattle up everything, but not even including, like Pastor Joshua, your church is doing, all the other wonderful things that the schools are doing. There's so many projects and things going on. But just this weekend alone, besides the Little League starting up, one of the things near and dear to me, the Boy Scouts, our annual spaghetti dinner. This is a very shameless plug. Is this Saturday evening. You're all invited at the American Legion. Thank you, Commander Dixon, again, for helping us out with that. And it starts at 4 o'clock for you early birds, and I'm sure there's some in the audience. And we, what?
Sunday.
What did I say?
Saturday.
I did? Okay, strike that. Sorry. I did say that? I am getting old, see? I must be a senior now, too. So, I am. Just about. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Also, the Milltown Chamber of Commerce, of which they still keep on me as vice president. They won't let me leave. But like Dorian and I were talking about that before the meeting too, we're having a food drive that I publicized some, but probably not enough. And what it is, you know, these things get really big before the Christmas and other holidays, but they don't get enough food in the MC food banks this time of year. And we're really trying to make a push. And I know at least 2 of the banks, Provident and Kearney, and a few other places. I think the Farmers Scene, a few other places in town I have listed on TV and I think on Facebook. We are looking for dry goods, and we're having it till at least till April 20th. And it's going right to MC Foods, and there's a very desperate need around the county for it, and here in Milltown. And it will be dispersed here. That's why we work with MC Foods. So please help out with that as well. But there's everything going on. Like Joan Trent gives me things all the time with the Lions. There's so many things that they're doing that's great. There's things that are going on with the Masons that probably people don't hear enough about in this town. There are things that are going on with so many good things in Milltown. You know, I come here, and unfortunately, when people talk about finances, things can get negative, blah, blah, and all that, and I understand it, and I don't get politically involved ever. I just keep on doing the things that make Milltown great. So I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying. If you're not involved in any of the things that I'm talking about, you don't have to be. But come and support them. That would be awesome. And that's what makes Milltown great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Rosalie Guyette, 6 Janet Court. I just want to thank the police department, the Office of Emergency Management, the fire department, the rescue squad, the county Office of Emergency Medicine Management, the hazmat team for running a very professional OEM drill this Saturday morning. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts took place. It was very enlightening to see all these groups come together for the safety of our town. The kids had a great time, and I want to thank the seniors for lending us their senior center for the program. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Skarzinski?
Yes, sir. I'll say it now. Bob Skarzinski, 55 Townsend Street. The reason I did this, when I got up and I stumbled and I made my comments earlier, I wanted to be very careful that I didn't represent myself as president of the senior club. I didn't want to have any of my comments reflecting on the club. We are non-political. It used to be political. In the 8 years I've been president, we got rid of this political garbage. So now I am identifying myself for these comments as president of the Milltown Senior Club. Now, let me say something nice here. I'm sure you'd be glad to hear this. I want to thank the members of the council, 2 members in particular, Councilman Ligotti, Councilwoman Kerber, for finally replacing that bone crusher bus that we had. Now, I have to say, Nick, a friend of mine, if I may say this personally, you did a great job. It's not easy looking for that money. I did it for 6 years. You got to bang heads, and I thank you very much for doing it. Councilwoman Kerber, who is our senior liaison, we've become almost pen pals now. She's calling me up. I know what's going on. She's teaching me how to email. I want to thank both of you and for everybody. This is an example of what you can do when people from different parties get together and work hard, and this is the results you get. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. A gentleman got up early and commented in a budget that we're paying for coffee in the senior building. Well, let me tell you, you may be paying coffee for the Office on Aging, but the seniors buy their own coffee. So let's put that on the record. Third of all, we are all interested in the utility rates. We talked about the utility rates. We tried not to put too much into that, again, because of politics. But one thing that the members ask me constantly about, and I have an executive board meeting in about 10 hours probably if we ever get out of here, is the letter that I sent to each member of the council relating or talking about marijuana. Now, I know, Councilwoman Mayor, you're doing this, you're following it up, but that's not good enough for my people. Now, nobody read this letter, and I was told that we don't read this publicly now, and I will talk about that in a couple of minutes. But here's all we wanted, and should be simple, and it should have really little to do. Here's what we wanted. Here's where I sent a letter. The people are very upset about marijuana. We're old people. We don't like it. drugs, only the things that we'd have to take for high blood pressure and things like that. All we want from you people is somebody to sponsor a resolution, and the resolution will say this: in the event that marijuana is legalized in New Jersey, okay, we as a council will offer an ordinance, and that ordinance will state that we will prohibit the sale of marijuana in Milltown. That's what we want. And the mayors and our seniors, I don't know, it's hard to say a senior insists upon it. They're getting very angry at this. They don't like what we're hearing. They don't think you're responding to what we're asking for. Now, I understand what you're saying. You're trying to accumulate all this stuff. But put that in the back burner. You know the old saying, the closest distance to 2 points is a straight line. And would somebody please address this in a straight line and make the resolution? That's not saying you're in favor of it. All we're saying is you're going to put the ordinance up. Then our people know. They keep on saying, what's going on with these people? I says, well, I don't know. I'm not getting any answers from people. So please take that under advisement. It's important to all of us. Now, I know there are people here that think that when you get to be 80, you should be put on an iceberg and thrown out to sea. But well, it's the truth. Don't lie. That's the way it is. You say, I'm not kidding you. Yeah, you got to, yeah, I'm an old guy. Now, so that's another thing. Now, I'm on a roll now. Let me tell you now. I've noticed in the last maybe couple of years, we don't seem to have that same communication between the wants of the seniors, the opinion of the senior club, to the mayor and the council. Now this goes back a long way, but we haven't improved on it. Now, Roberta Goodwin and I and a bunch of my other good friends have been on the Mayor's Advisory Senior Council for 14 years, right? 14 years. Off and on, whatever we call it. Now, the purpose of this is for the senior group to get together. They're handpicked. I think it's the mayor that chooses this. I don't think it's a council appointment. But we get letters every January when we get sworn in. Now, we've met once. And we were there for 3.5 hours. We came in with 7 ideas, none of which were acted upon with the council. So now what we do is every year, the mayor appoints these people. We don't meet because we know if we meet, you're not going to do anything about it. Okay? It's like we feel like we're banging our head against the wall. For 5 years, I've been asking the council to do this, and I don't know why you object to this. I don't know where you think maybe we're walking on your turf. I've asked that you select or choose a senior ombudsman. Now, the purpose of this, and it works well in other towns, is to take a person, non-political, man or woman, selected. I hope we would get some input in this. And the purpose for them, they would be sitting at each meeting. Okay? And anything of concern to the seniors, the woman or man would be able to answer it or relate it back to who. Now, and the purpose of this is we're running in an area now where there are people looking at the council meetings. They want to get their opinion shared with the council. But they're not coming to council meetings. They're afraid to get up and talk, or they physically can't do it. But if on your website you would put this person's name, okay, this is the ombudsman, then the people could say, I'll call up this name or go online, and this person now is going to represent me. And it's a person who will have no opinion. She will be a conduit between. And I don't know why you people wouldn't accept that idea. It's like nobody wants to hear what the seniors have to say anymore.
Excuse me, Bob, give me a name and invite him to the meeting, and I'll invite him to the meeting.
Well, that'll be fine, and we really appreciate that.
That's not a problem.
It's like we're really, and again, we're getting old, you know.
And while you're at it, Mr. Bruder, can you start putting together a anti-marijuana Ordinance 2, please, for the council's
Well,
perusal?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer Mr.
Yes,
And it is addressed to me.
Yes.
So we are ready, have been ready. The mayor tasked me with that. And the reason for the delay was we were all set, but the assembly has been doing these, a listening tour, and they asked the boroughs and municipalities of the counties to wait until after that because, first of all, the law is not going to happen for a long time. So we have time to get the ordinance. So they asked us, and I did the due diligence to hear from you, and I certainly did read your letter, to hear from the police, the Board of Education, residents. So obviously, I would say right now it's 80-20 against. The 20%, their argument is it may be a good source of revenue. But so listening to the residents of Milltown, if obviously the majority is against it, we were going to have a resolution on within the next meeting or two. So that was not, that was something that I was going to approach at the next meeting, but I'm glad you brought it up, and so we certainly have listened to the residents, and there will be a resolution.
We're concerned because, you know, you're a bunch of kids now, and you think, we think, you know, you're the, I say 60s generation, but, you know, you may think a little bit different about this. We just wanted the assurance that you would act in such a manner, you know, that this ordinance, if it was necessary, would be presented.
Yes.
And the people are saying, we don't want these hotbeds coming from out of town in here and buying drugs. If we have hotbeds in Milltown, let them go to somebody else's place and buy them. And this is what we were concerned about.
Right. No, there will be,
Yeah.
within the next 2 meetings, there will be a resolution for the council to
Well,
vote on.
thank you very much. You know, we have these persecution complexes as we get older. But again, now, dealing with Councilwoman Kerber, you know, you're going to really keep me in the loop now. And when I get good on my emails, and but again, I want to thank you all. I know it's a long night. I normally have my warm milk and cookies by this time. But, and again, I do respect what you're doing. I sat up there a long time for myself. I know it's not easy for people to throw rocks at you. So again, on behalf of everybody, if I agree with you, I thank you for your service, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Council. Alan Godber, 4 Fern Place. First thing I'd like to do is to thank Councilwoman Kerber and the Council for making sure that that window was put in at the Senior Centre. I know the lady over there has been suffering, as we've talked about at previous meetings, with being bitterly cold. And sensible way to spend some of that money that's not even, it was state money, I think, or is it federal money? Federal. Federal money, yes. So thank you for making sure that that happened. Got 2 announcements from the Lawrence Brook Watershed Partnership. First thing is that we will be doing a Farrington Lake cleanup this coming Saturday, the 14th of April. And it was, unfortunately, in the Sentinel last week, they said it started at 9 a.m. And why they said that, I have no idea. We're starting at 10 a.m. And so please come and help us. This is the 15th time we've done this. We only do it once a year, but it is necessary to do it. The amount of trash has been going down over the years, maybe because, I don't know, maybe people are getting wiser, or maybe they're seeing that it's cleaner and so people don't drop as much trash. But please come and help us. We're meeting at Bicentennial Park. That's where we start, and then we'll move out from there to wherever needs to be cleaned, about a 3-hour activity. If it rains on Saturday, and right now the weather forecast says it's going to be nice, if it rains, then we'll be doing it Sunday starting at 1 p.m. And then second event on the 14th, a week from tomorrow. You may recall a month ago I said we were going to have the speaker, Dr. Steve Lyon from the Nature Conservancy. Well, we had to call that off because of the snow. He had a long drive and we were worried that people wouldn't show up. So the first time, I think in like 10 years or something, we cancelled the meeting. So he's going to be coming and speaking on Wednesday, the 14th, 7:30 p.m. at the Senior Centre. He's going to be talking to us about maintaining and restoring waterways in New Jersey. And he's going to give us some examples from all over the place, including other countries. So hopefully this will be a very inspiring and interesting talk.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ralph Miller, 7 Buyer. Quick question. Now that FiOS is in town, are we discussing a public access channel with them?
I'm sorry?
Are we discussing a public access channel with FiOS, Verizon?
Not to my knowledge.
Actually are. We are. I know Russ has done a good job getting us on YouTube.
Milltown actually has a channel dedicated to it through FiOS. We just have to have our cable TV committee figure out how to put content up there.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot. Because there's a lot of people in town that are dropped out of the loop. But Russ stepped in. He stopped out just with YouTube, so that's good. Thanks a lot.
Russ, are we allowed to vacate our contract with Cablevision?
You don't have to vacate it.
Oh, in conjunction with.
Getting the right approval, and haven't gotten the right person to get approval yet. You guys.
I thought it was one or the other. I apologize.
I spoke to the gentleman at FiOS. He says you already have a channel. Just give us the content, and you got to start uploading it regularly.
Yes, sir.
East Brunswick does it all through their library. Sorry.
Okay, Rich.
We got somebody else standing up here, Rich.
Junior Romero, 100 Bayard Street in New Brunswick.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat your name? I couldn't hear you.
Junior Romero.
Thank you.
And I have some materials for the council, if that's okay.
And that was Bayard Street? New
Bayard
Brunswick?
Street, New Brunswick, yes.
Okay. If you have things, can you just give them to the clerk?
I'll disperse them. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm with Food and Water Watch. We're a New Jersey environmental group, and we are today urging, first of all, good evening, Mayor, Council President. We are urging towns all across New Jersey to adopt resolutions supporting 100% clean energy. What you will about to receive is a resolution that East Brunswick just passed 2 months ago. This came after the U.S. Conference of Mayors in their national bipartisan meeting of mayors in 2017. We were pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords, unfortunately, but towns wanted ways that they could take action themselves, and then their states are also taking action. So here in New Jersey, quite a few municipalities have already passed resolutions supporting clean energy, solar, wind, tidal. I learned the other day that Red Bank, one of their schools, actually used geothermal. They dug a really big hole down in the ground, and one of the elementary schools is ran by geothermal. And then you'll also see that over 60 elected officials in New Jersey have signed what's called the Off Fossil Fuels Pledge, basically understanding that humans are a cause of climate change. The towns support 100% renewable energy, and they will do everything in their power to stop dirty energy projects that could subsequently harm our air and water. I noticed Alan's here. We're glad to have their partnership on this campaign with his organization and their other organizations around the state. You'll just see the strong support with over 60 elected officials from school board, city council, Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg is on there. And Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman is actually co-sponsoring a bill, the Off Fossil Fuels Act, that would get us to 100% renewable energy. So, we're already seeing stronger storms all across the country, and we believe it's fueled by our dependence on fossil fuels. And just like to urge the council to consider adopting a resolution as the one that you have received. We're on a new direction with clean energy here in New Jersey, and we believe change comes from the grassroots, and there's nothing more grassroots, I think, than the council, local levels. So having a show of support from the local level would definitely go a long way. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for enduring the meeting.
I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Josh Schuster, the pastor of the Methodist Church. I live at 47 North Main Street, 318 North Main Street. The church is at 47 North Main Street. So I feel like I live there, though. I just wanted to, I know that y'all have endured a lot this evening from each other and also from us sitting here. And I just wanted to, as we are embarking on this service day on May 20th, I know that each of you have had a hand in helping the Methodist Church, us, in participating, whether it's meeting with me, donating flowers, taking time and doing whatever. And I just personally wanted to thank each and every single one of you, because I know that a lot of people have talked about politics this evening, but I appreciate you setting all of that aside, because push comes to shove, you do set that aside and you do put the community of Milltown better, for the better. And I do want people to hear that as this day comes forward, that there is work that is being done, and you as council men and women are working towards making sure that that happens. And so I want to thank you for that. And while it may not seem like it this evening, we are grateful for your time that you volunteer to help make this town better. So thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Pastor Josh, have you decided what you're doing for Service Day on the 20th?
Funny you should ask that. So apparently word has gotten out about Service Day on May 20th. And I now have people calling me about wanting to help with Service Day on May 20th. So now I don't know that I have enough stuff for Service Day on May 20th. I will be presenting to you next time about Service Day on May 20th, where we'll be helping out the local businesses and also kind of along the streets and different things about what we can do in Milltown to make it better. But we'll Wine and Design and a couple other places, the funeral homes have gotten back to us, and the new antique shop. So we have a couple of places that we've locked in, and a couple other places that I've dropped by. They kind of look at me like I'm crazy, that we want to help them, and want absolutely nothing from them, and that's totally okay. I get it, being skeptical, but that's okay. I think that love needs to take place, and so I'll go back, and hopefully we'll have a nice long list by the beginning of May. So
great.
Yep.
Pastor Josh.
Yes.
And when you come back,
Yes.
you do me a favor.
Yes.
Don't wear that shirt.
I'm South Jersey born and raised, so I'll leave with Fly Eagles Fly.
Shots fired.
And bring a sign-up sheet next time so we can help as well.
Yes, good evening, Gary Walters, 6 Maple Shade Road. Actually, I have 2 questions. Is there any status on the old electric substation, the building, the metal, steel that's there, the transformers?
Yeah, Gary, the borough's utility department has begun dismantling the electric facilities themselves at a large savings in cost to the borough. The building itself, the demolition of the building is something that's going to be a little bit more that the borough can't do. So they've, through the work of Denise Biancamato and the mayor, they've contacted DEP and they've agreed to consider funding it under the trust, the same financing we used for the substation construction. We received a price from the contractor, and the only left to be done, as we discussed earlier today, is seeing what John Eckert's department can do versus what the contractor can do. And if the borough can do it themselves, save a ton of money from the contractor. So we're about a week or 2 weeks away from resolving it.
All right, great.
So we have a price, just not a number that's absent the price, the amount of work that John's going to do.
And is there anything salvageable that we could receive money from?
Unfortunately, Gary, we have tried. The borough's utility department have tried. Even the contractor tried to do it through the price he gave us. And unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be any market for the materials. Primarily, it seems the cost to move it and basically take it and hold it is really what the problem is. These entities know we have transformers and we have switches, but they'd rather see Milltown hold on to them until they can find a buyer for them. They'd rather not pay them cost to pick them up and ship them to their yard, which is the problem.
Great, thank you. Okay. Second question, regarding milling of roads. I live in a development, it's about 30 years old, has about 5 streets, and several years ago, I mean, over the years, a lot of cracks have formed in the roads. And I know at one point in time, they've tarred the cracks to prevent them from getting worse. But now some of those cracks went from 1 inch to 2 inch, and I haven't seen any of that tarring done to prevent the road from deteriorating any further. That would obviously save cost of milling the road and replacing it. So I was wondering, is that practice still in place in the town to tar cracks in the road to help actually extend the life of the road.
I don't know that we've done that for a while. I know years ago, when I was on council, we bought a tar machine that heated up the tar. That unfortunately is probably in the Raritan because it got swept away by the flood. I don't know that they've done any of that, Gary, since then.
Would the county be able to do something like that versus, you talked about the county coming in and remilling, well, maybe the county could come in if they have the equipment to do that and again, extend the life of the road.
That would be a great thing because you're right, it extends the life of the road a long, long time.
Right.
And I was just down in your neighborhood the other day, and you're right. I mean, you could lose a family pet in some of those cracks. They're pretty big.
Right.
So
right.
Perhaps Councilwoman Kerber could
yes.
have Ralph speak to that.
I'll discuss that with him tomorrow morning.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alan?
I just want to follow up, Alan Gabra again, Orphan Place. Just want to follow up on a comment that Gary just made about the old electric substation. I recall a meeting with a number of professionals in the back room here about 7 or 8 years ago maybe, when we were talking about replacing that substation and all the updates were going to be done. And it was made very clear to us at the time by an expert there, and maybe I could find my notebook from the time and find the name of the expert, who told us that the older transformers were over-designed deliberately, and modern transformers are not. They're designed precisely to the amount of capacity they're required to provide. And therefore, the older transformers are a lot more reliable, and recognizing, of course, that they're many years old, but nevertheless, they were extremely reliable, and you don't want to get rid of those because they're potentially more valuable than the new transformers that are just being built. So I think we ought to be paying attention to that before we just chuck them out.
Good point. Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up to the microphone.
I just want to clarify something. I just want to verify, is the next meeting around your youth and government meeting?
No, the May meeting is May 9th.
It's the first meeting in May?
Not 9th, second.
Second meeting in May?
Meeting, usually.
Sue was here today with the kids, so usually they come to a meeting right before. When is it?
Well, now we have 2 meetings. In the past, it was always the second meeting.
Right, but we scheduled that last year, so we didn't have a second meeting.
Yeah, they actually didn't have 2 meetings in May, so I don't know when May.
Second.
Which one?
I believe it's the 7th?
Okay, it's the first meeting in May.
I believe it's May 7th, is youth and government.
Okay, thank you. That's all I want to know.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close audience comments. Council comments.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to let you know, on April 21st, the Milltown Education Foundation is doing their clothing drive that morning. I think it's from 8 to noon at the Bradford Park gazebo. You can just bring your bags of clothes and stick it in the gazebo, and it'll be picked up. In addition, Wine and Design has been helping me with painting rocks. I know so many times we have Milltown Day. I was on it for a number of years, and you always have that wind factor. What we're doing is we're going to have a table for the borough staff just to put their information on. And I approached Sharon from Wine and Design. I said, hey, why don't we, paint rocks? And I figured that would be a great paperweight. So this way they're not blowing all over the place, because we're not going to have it like fully manned. In addition, we'll have, registration table, Feeding Middlesex County will be there, as well as MC Foods. And I'm looking forward to it. And I hope, this is going to be their first fundraiser, and they're going to hopefully expand that throughout the county at different towns each year. So I feel honored to have them here this year, for all of us to be honored, and to have the first one ever. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, hold on a second.
Oh, April 21st, the same day as the Walk and Health Fair. So just go walk around the path or drive over to the clothing drive too. Yes, because they mentioned that to me. It's the same morning as the clothing drive. I believe it's 8 a.m. to around noon. Sometimes it's like 1 o'clock.
Anyone else? Seeing none.
Oh, I do. Sorry, Mayor. Oh, go ahead. No, you go, Randy. Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Councilman Legati for his hard work on the CPDG block grant and working towards the purchase of the bus for the seniors. It was his diligence that brought to light the fact that if we didn't expend those funds by the end of April, we would have lost those. So congratulations to him for being an outstanding member of that committee and making sure that our funds did not get taken away from us. So thanks to Councilmember Gotti.
Anyone else?
Now me? Okay. I wanted to say that over the last 2 weeks, I've received comments from a lot of people that want to be more involved or want to know what's going on, and I'm really happy that so many people came out tonight. One of the questions that they've had is, when's the website going to be updated? So I just wanted to give people an update that we have contracted with a vendor, and Mr. Bruder, our attorney, is currently looking over the contract so that we can sign with the vendor who does municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey. And once that contract is signed, then we can get with the vendor and we will begin to start the process of updating the website, because people really want to know what's going on. To that note, I'm sorry that you all came out. You see how government works. 100% of the people were against something, and yet it was voted in the affirmative this evening. So that saddens me. It's not a partisan issue. I hate to be up here on council and cause people further hardship. But on a positive note, we did have afterward, and people at home might not know this, but we did have a bipartisan agreement where we tabled a resolution that Mr. Revelinsky and I spoke on. So I thank him for that, because there were certainly issues on the resolution that we tabled that we weren't comfortable with, and so we needed to pull that back so the council could get together and discuss the right way to do something, and not to have a position that becomes effective January 1st when no work has been done. So we're being very careful with our funds. However, we were going to hire someone to start work on January 1st for a project that hasn't even started yet. So I thank Councilman Revelinsky for being bipartisan and doing the right thing and tabling something so that we can get someone that's qualified and also make sure that we don't pay for work that hasn't been done.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, with that note, I would like to echo Councilwoman Mayer's bipartisan. We had a bipartisan meeting about that senior buses that we're going to purchase. I took a half a day of work to get there on time. Dorianne participated critically. The mayor took part in that meeting. It was a unanimous decision. There was back and forth. There was questions. There was answers. Can't thank Ralph Jesnowski enough for doing, listen, I'm going to put it out there, for doing 99% of the work on what buses to get and the time frame we were constricted to. But just to reiterate, I just want everyone to know, I understand we passed an ordinance to raise water and sewer rates, but that bus was money that was accrued over the last 5 years and is banked with the federal government, and if we didn't spend it by April 30th, we would have lost it. So it was at really no cost to the borough, a minimal cost, because we have to get it retrofitted for a wheelchair, which is a very, very low cost to us. And I would like to thank both the mayor and Dorianne for participating in that meeting as well.
Thank you.
And I have one more thing.
So do I.
Wow. And last week, I got a very a sad email from our BA CFO that she is leaving us at the end of April, or towards the end of April, to pursue bigger and better things. I'm hoping that we can get her to stay on maybe a little bit longer to get the transition to go a little smoother, but I'd like to thank her for her 15, 16, whatever years of service here to Milltown.
No comment.
No. I would like to thank Denise, too, for her years of service. And also, I've only been here for 2 months, but she's been more than welcoming, and I really appreciate it. I just wanted to say, too, that I forgot to say after I was talking about the resolutions, that some of the audience charged us to come up with a plan and be careful. And I have 3 more years on this council, and I commit to you that fiscal responsibility will be at the top of my list. I ran on transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility, so I actually at the last council meeting asked the Budget Finance Committee to meet to see if we could get some more money out of the budget. We did meet last week. We managed to cut a little more to hopefully alleviate a little of the tax increase. And as far as the transparency with the website, with having the 2 meetings a month, because I always say that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So I'm so thrilled that so many people are here. We obviously all care about this town, but I will work really hard to come up with a plan and stick to it for the residents of Milltown. So I appreciate it.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close council comments. Mayor comments. The only thing I have to say this evening is I appreciate the fact that the council people who have begun to work together get the feeling that by being together and working together, you accomplish great things. And that's my point, okay? And that's it. It's a great feeling when you can sit in a room, work together, and work things out and get things done. It's a wonderful feeling. So congratulations to the council. And with that, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So be it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Really, you won.
Huh? Who? I won?
I lost by 3 minutes. I won. I won.
Wait, why would